Hey there, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I have a bunch of new stories for you to enjoy. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would honestly mean a lot to me. Now let's start with the first story.
Story 1. Am I the jerk for breaking up with my fiancée after she told her male best friend that she was not engaged? Posted by you/visible broccoli 381. My now ex-fiancée, 30F, and I, 27M, got engaged 3 weeks ago. We've been dating for 5 years, and I finally saved enough money to give her the wedding she wanted. 3 days ago, we were discussing our guest list, and I asked if she wanted to invite her best friend, let's call him James, 30M. James lives in another state, but since they had been friends for 10 years, I thought it would be nice to have him at the wedding. I even considered paying for his travel expenses. She declined, saying it would take a lot of effort to bring him and that she wanted it to be a family event. However, she had mentioned countless times that James was like family to her, so I insisted. She got annoyed and said, I didn't even tell him we were engaged. That took me by surprise. I tried to ask why, but she started stonewalling me, so I left her alone. After a couple of hours, I asked her again why she hadn't told him we were engaged, but she still refused to answer. I admit, my insecurity got the better of me. In the past, James had confessed his feelings for her, which she turned down, essentially friend-zoning him. But the way she described their relationship always made it seem like she kept him as a backup, something not only I but also her exes had noticed. She had married him online, they always made their World of Warcraft characters look like a couple, wearing the same transmog and things like that, and whenever she had fights with her exes, he was always there for her, etc. I told her that made me uncomfortable and that if she wasn't planning to tell him, she might as well consider herself single because I wouldn't marry someone who couldn't be honest. Yes, I was pretty immature, but she did something even more immature. She texted him right in front of me, showing me her phone, and said something like, hey, just so you know, I was engaged, but not anymore, and sent it to him. I told her to pack her things and leave my house. Ever since she left, she has been calling me, but I have refused to answer. My mom called me, because she apparently called her, and told me I was a jerk for ending things over such a ridiculous reason. So, am I the jerk here? Relevant comments. Commenter. Do you provide most material things, including the house? Your post said my house. Are you paying down her school or other debt? Don't let anyone use you financially if their heart isn't in it too. I know a man whose wife left him just weeks after she graduated. Guess whose cash put her through college? Response. Yes, I pay for the house, bills, and her car. She moved in 2 years ago. Other than that, she pays for her own things. Update 1 day later. Hey guys, I just got home after talking to my, still, ex-fiancé, and since a lot of people asked for an update, here it is. But I want to clarify a few things. As I mentioned in my original post, I pay for the house since I bought it before dating her, and I asked her to move in because it was close to her job. I work from home since I'm in tech, but she had to commute to work, which is why I paid for her car, to help her out, and honestly, her salary is crap. I was her partner, so I didn't see any problem with that. I thought she was the one. Despite everything, she is smart, funny, and we had chemistry, but I felt betrayed. Now, to the update. We met at a coffee shop under the premise that we would discuss how to save our relationship, or at least, that's what she thought. As soon as we sat down, I asked to see their messages. She got defensive immediately and told me she had deleted everything. I asked to see her phone anyway. She started to cry, ugly cry, begging me to stop. At that point, I had already decided I was done with the relationship, but damn, I was curious. It took a good 20 minutes for her to hand me her phone, a lot of crying, even a waitress asking her if she was okay. So I read the messages. There wasn't any outright cheating, no nudes being exchanged, no professing love for each other, but what I read still stung. There was a lot of crap talking about me. A lot. Text after text of them saying how terrible of a person I was, criticizing my hobbies, I like video games and pro wrestling, saying I wasn't a real man because of them, and stuff like that. But there were 2 topics that caught my eye. One where she told him I was having trouble getting hard and that it was frustrating for her. And one where she complained about how she didn't want to be stuck in our relationship. Yes, I was having problems in bed. Because I was grieving. My father passed away 6 months ago. As for the stuck thing, I remember telling her that when we got married, if she wanted, she could leave her job, and I would provide for both of us. I don't know if she took that the wrong way, but I guess it was related to that. Honestly, I don't know. By the time I gave her the phone back, she was already making excuses for why she said those things to him, how he was like a therapist for her. Then she asked me, don't you complain about me to your friends? And I simply replied, no, I don't. She started crying again. I took a deep breath and just said, "Just give me the ring back." I didn't have the ring with me, like some suggested. She hesitated a bit but gave it to me anyway. I stood up and asked her to delete my number and not bother me anymore. I called her mom and asked her to pick up her daughter's stuff from my place. Her mom is a good person, and I'm just now realizing how much I'm going to miss her as I write this. She understood why I decided to end it, but she didn't ask much, and to be honest, I'm glad she didn't. As for my own mom, I didn't call her, I just blocked her for reasons unrelated to this post. I just realized she never had my back in anything. I was always trying to save an already failed mother-son relationship. Before I go, I just want to clarify, I was never against her having male friends or any type of friends. People are going to cheat if they want to, friends or no friends. I remember my dad telling me something when I was a teenager. He always said, "Opportunity makes the thief," but I don't agree with that. Anyway, since I have the next 2 weeks off work, I'm going to figure out what to do with the wedding money, drink some booze, play games, and watch Monday Night Raw later. Peace. Edit. A couple of people are asking about the car. It's a 2015 Nissan Versa, which she crashed twice, both times by rear-ending someone. I never liked the car, the engine is weak, the interior feels cheap, and overall, it's just bad. So for all I care, she can keep that piece of crap. I'd have better luck throwing it off a cliff than selling it. Edit 2. Little update. Her mom called me a few hours ago to check on me and ask when she could come pick up my ex's stuff. We talked about the car, and she basically forbade me from letting her daughter keep it because, 1, I paid for it, and 2, my ex wouldn't be able to maintain it. So, I'm going to keep the car until I'm able to sell it, God help me. Also, some people called the story fake because they said I wasn't a real man for playing games, even though they played World of Warcraft. To be honest, that's on me because I wasn't very clear. The real man thing was more about the pro wrestling hobby than the gaming hobby, but in some messages, they clearly mocked me for playing certain games, Life is Strange series. In one, I remember James saying something like, "How could a grown man play such a girly game and cry?" Yes, I cried playing Life is Strange. I also cried during Red Dead Redemption 2, the I'm afraid cutscene still gets me emotional. I'm a crybaby, I guess. Also, I want to thank everyone who messaged me to talk about wrestling and games, it really helped take my mind off everything. I haven't replied to everyone yet, but I intend to. If anything happens, I'll let you guys know. Second update 10 days later. Hey guys, it's been a couple of days since I used this account to tell my story, and some things have happened, but this is a positive update. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out in my DMs and commented with kind words. It felt really good, and I appreciate you all. Some of you actually made me tear up with your kind messages. Second, I saw that my 2 previous posts were featured in a YouTube video by a guy who reads Reddit posts, and my update was on r/best of Redditor updates, a subreddit I browse a lot. That caught me off guard, but I want to express my gratitude to everyone who gave me advice, shared their own story, or just told me I was a cool guy. Reading your messages before writing this felt amazing. I also want to say that I've thought a lot about my engagement, and I have no regrets whatsoever. Yeah, things ended badly, and she was not a good person to me in the end, but I just don't hate her, nor do I wish for her to fail. We had good moments, I felt happy with her, and, again, I really thought she was the one. Feeling hatred would have harmed me more than her. Now, for the update. Her mom came to pick up her stuff, and we talked for hours, it felt like therapy. I cried on her shoulder, we laughed, and she expressed how much I meant to her family and that I would always be welcome in her home. It felt so good to hear her say those things to me. Before she left, she asked if I wanted to know how my ex was doing. I got curious and asked. Her words were, "She's trying to act stoic, but I know my daughter, she's not taking this well." I left it at that. She gave me a hug and left. As for the car, I'm going to donate it and get a tax write-off. But what I'm really excited about is that I'm going to the Royal Rumble. I've never even watched Raw or SmackDown live, but now that I have the extra cash, I'm going to treat myself. Again, thank you all for reaching out. And sorry to the people who love drama, this update doesn't have an unwanted pregnancy, a fight, chaos, or a plot twist. The truth is, my life is just really, really boring. Third update 1 month 2 weeks later. Hello, guys. Most of you might not remember me because my original post was 2 months ago, but something happened that I thought was worthy of an update. Since the breakup, I've tried to stay as busy as possible, going to work, hitting the gym, playing on my new Switch. On weekends, I started modding and repairing old consoles, a hobby that turned out to be quite expensive, not gonna lie. I even modded my own Switch, sorry, Nintendo. And I was managing to get through the days without feeling sad. Well, yesterday, my ex-mother-in-law called me to catch up. She has been calling me every week or so and invited me to spend Christmas at her house with her family. I immediately refused because, even though I don't hate my ex, there are other people I would rather spend the holidays with. But then she said something that made me feel a bit sad. She mentioned that my ex wouldn't be there since she was spending Christmas with James, as they are now kinda dating, her words. I replied that I wasn't sure if I would go. I'll be honest, feelings are complex. Maybe my pride or ego is hurt because it feels like she moved on really quickly. Maybe I still have feelings. I don't know. 2 months isn't a long time when it comes to this stuff. My ex-mother-in-law noticed my tone changed and said, "Look, sweetie, it's up to you. If you want to come, you're more than welcome." I thanked her, we said our goodbyes, and we hung up. I know how Reddit usually responds to these things, so I want to give my perspective now. My ex-mother-in-law had no intention of making me sad. She's a really honest person, and I truly believe she was just letting me know that it was okay for me to come since my ex wouldn't be there. So yeah, I'm feeling kinda crappy right now, but it will pass. Maybe I'll even change my mind and spend Christmas with them. My ex-mother-in-law's food is some of the best I've ever had, and I wouldn't mind a free plate, lol. Also, I want to apologize to the people who sent DMs about buying the car. By the time I saw your messages, I had already donated it. That's it. Happy holidays to everyone. Relevant comments. Commenter. I'm actually really glad you updated. Honestly, I understand not wanting to go. The mother-in-law sounds like she's being very kind, however, I'd still be cautious. She clearly really likes you, and I'm pretty sure her daughter and new boyfriend could have a problem with her inviting her ex over for Christmas, and possibly future events. While you owe them absolutely nothing, there could be more drama down the line if you do go. I've read too many awful mother-in-law stories on this site that include inviting their child's ex over for the holidays, so perhaps this is coloring my view somewhat. Do you have friends to spend the day with or any family? Wishing you the loveliest holiday season with people you feel loved by and belong with this year. Ops response. I was navigating this train of thought, and I'm almost certain I won't go. I don't want to be like those exes described in the posts you mentioned. And to answer your question, I have friends, but I'm not comfortable spending the holidays with them since they will be with their families. I would feel like an outsider, haha. I cut my mom off, she was really controlling and toxic, a narcissist. My dad died, as I previously mentioned, and I've never been close to my extended family since they live in Brazil, my dad's home country. Op adds an edit to his post. Hey everyone, I read your comments, and people were really divided about me spending Christmas with my ex-mother-in-law. Some said I should move on and decline the invitation, as that would make my healing process better and faster. Others suggested I go to piss off my ex and stay close to those who care about me. A lot of you made great points on both sides. Well, I texted my ex-mother-in-law this morning and told her I wouldn't be spending Christmas with her and her family. The idea of healing resonated with me much more than the idea of pissing off my ex. If I were petty, it would actually show her that I still care in some way, and I don't want her to get that idea. The opposite of love isn't hate but indifference. Honestly, my ex-mother-in-law would be the only person I'd feel comfortable interacting with, since I don't know her family well, they live in another state. Also, I've been thinking about my extended family in Brazil, and I'm wondering if I should plan a trip to visit them a year from now. That would give me time to save more money and travel without financial worries. I have my aunt, my dad's sister, on Facebook, so I'm going to contact her to see if I can meet them, get to know them better, and see how things go. Thanks, everyone. Fourth update 1 month 1 week later. Mid-December, the company I-27M work for decided that whoever was working remotely should go to the office in person at least 3 times a week. At work, there's this girl, Jackie, 22F, who started in November. I only knew her from Slack, but since the decision, she and I have become good acquaintances. We had a secret Santa, and I ended up getting her. It wasn't hard to think of a gift. I know she's a Swiftie, so I got her 1989 Taylor's version on vinyl. She was super happy. But then she started to get a little too friendly. It started with her setting her lunch break to the same time as mine to hang out. She usually had her lunch 30 minutes before me. Then she asked her manager to let her come in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the same days I work in person. She invited me to dinner, saying other people would be there, but surprisingly, they all canceled at the last moment. This happened twice, by the way. Whenever she talks to me, she touches either my arm or grabs my hand. She laughs at all of my jokes, even the bad ones, which are all of them, and she started watching wrestling, knowing I'm a big fan. Seeing her behavior, people started spreading a rumor that we were secretly dating, which made her giggle when she found out. HR even called us in to say that if we were really in a relationship, we had to disclose it due to a conflict of interest. She said, "We are just really good friends." Am I reading too much into this? She said we're just really good friends, but I've only known her for a month, and her behavior is kinda flirty sometimes. I'm really lost. She's a really nice person. Help. Edit. I read your comments, and I will ask her if she's having feelings for me. Since I work from home tomorrow, I will try to think of ways to navigate this situation, and I will ask her to meet me at a restaurant on Wednesday after work. Edit 2. I don't know if anyone is going to read this, but she texted me and invited me to her place today at 7 p.m. to watch a reality show called Singles Inferno. She told me to bring wine. I accepted. Oh boy, I'm freaking nervous. Edit 3. I went to her place, and the first thing she said was that she loved the cologne I was wearing. She had ordered pizza, and we watched the show. The show sucks big time, but making jokes with her about it while being a bit wine drunk was really great. Out of the blue, she seemed kind of nervous, paused, and said she had something to say. Basically, I didn't have to say anything because she confessed that she was having feelings for me but was nervous to say anything because apparently, I was hard to read. I didn't know what to say. I kept looking at her, and she kept looking at me, and it was the most awkward silence I had ever experienced. But then she leaned in and kissed me. It felt good, really good. I haven't felt my heart race like that in a very long time. I spent the night at her place, and yeah, we got intimate, I'll leave it at that. Then we talked to each other until 5 a.m., and I got some answers from her. The first time she invited me to dinner, she actually invited other people, and they really did cancel at the last moment. She wanted me there because it was less scary to approach me in a group setting. The second time, she really planned to have just me at dinner with her. For her, it was frustrating that I wasn't noticing all the signs she was giving, but at the same time, she thought it was cute. Inviting me to watch the show and drink wine was her Hail Mary attempt to make me realize that she liked me. She told me that we didn't need to rush things because I told her that I liked her but was afraid of carrying the baggage of my previous relationship into this. She said I could take my time to process my feelings. But the fact is, I like her, I really, really like her, and I think a relationship is something I want to pursue with her. Story 2. My fiancée doesn't want to introduce me to her friends or interact with them until after we are married. Posted by you/ambitiousfinish879. So, my fiancée, 32F, doesn't want me, 28M, to talk to her best friends at all before marriage. We have been dating for the last 2.5 years, and those 2.5 years have been mostly public. Public in the sense that both she and I like to post pictures or reels of ourselves from vacations or time spent together, and we were very clear about our relationship on Instagram. However, she doesn't have many real-life followers from her office or personal life on Instagram. She has around 7 or 8 really close friends whom she meets regularly and one cousin. We are both mature adults and decided to get married in the coming year, in November or December 2024, since we started dating. So, I thought it would be better to introduce her to my family as well. Last month, after getting her consent, I arranged a meeting with my family at a nice restaurant in the city. My family met her, liked her, and decided to fix a date for our wedding. However, my fiancée said it would be too soon for her to get married this year, so we eventually decided to set the wedding date for February 2025, 6 months from now. In my city, it is usually necessary to book wedding halls well in advance to secure a good venue. So, with her consent, I discussed it with my family and booked a hall for our wedding. A few days later, she also went ahead and booked a hall for her side of the celebration. It is normal in our culture to have separate celebrations from both the bride's and groom's sides. So far, I have introduced her to my family and one female friend of mine who lives in a different town with her boyfriend. Both meetings were well planned. She also accidentally met another friend of mine once in a mall. However, I have never formally met any of her friends, except for 1 or 2 accidental encounters. For example, once, I was driving my fiancée somewhere, and 2 or 3 of her friends hopped into the car, and we exchanged a few words as we traveled. Her friends were, of course, aware that we were dating. Now, a strange incident happened last week that left me really confused. I received a text from one of her friends on Instagram. Before this, I had never spoken to this friend except once, a year ago, when my fiancée wasn't talking to me due to a fight. At that time, I texted her friend politely, asking her to talk to my fiancée, as she was a good friend and might be able to help. She agreed to talk to her. I only messaged her friend because I felt my fiancée was going through a lot. She had a huge financial loan, was dealing with family issues, and was also upset with me. Shortly after, my fiancée called me angrily about DMing her friend on Instagram and told me never to talk to her again. I was surprised but complied, as our relationship wasn't very stable back then, and I wanted to give her space. Later that day, I received a message from her friend saying, "Hey, sorry, I can't help you with this," and then she blocked me on Instagram. I didn't react and just let it go. Now, last week, this same friend suddenly texted me because she couldn't reach my fiancée over the phone and was worried about what was going on. I politely replied, saying, "Hey, she's probably busy with work. I'll let her know that you're trying to reach her." I then called my fiancée and informed her. Her reaction was, "Oh Lord, Why does she have to text you? Please block her on Instagram. I found this reaction quite immature and weird, so I told her I wouldn't block her. My fiancé then said, if you won't, then she will. A few moments later, I saw that her friend had blocked me again on Instagram. This time, I felt a little angry and ended up messaging her on her other Instagram handle. I said, hey, how are you doing? I didn't like what you just did, and this is not a very respectable way to treat someone. I also wrote, if your husband has any self-respect, he shouldn't text my fiancé when you two are having issues either. She responded, saying, me and my husband have been in her life long before you came into it. I politely explained that I never intended to interfere with their friendship, only to strengthen their bond, and that I felt disrespected for being blocked twice when I simply wanted to communicate or get to know them. She didn't reply to this but informed my fiancé, who once again became very angry with me, particularly because I had mentioned her friend's husband. I felt that was the only logical way to express myself. I am serious about my relationship with her. I introduced her to my family and friends. She doesn't have many family members, her parents passed away, and her cousins live abroad or far away, so her friends will be the ones present at our wedding from her side. I expected her to take me more seriously and at least not ask her friends to block me on Instagram. She often visits this female friend's house, has sleepovers, and attends parties there with her husband and other friends for birthdays or other events. I have never had the opportunity to formally meet her friends. I have expressed to her a couple of times that since her friend's husband sometimes joins their group meetings with their baby, maybe I could also join once. However, she is strictly against this, and after this blocking incident, I am seriously bothered. My fiancé says, my ex-boyfriends used to bother my friends too, and I don't want that happening again. This reasoning might have made sense a year ago, but now that we're getting married in 6 months, she is still hesitant. She says she will introduce me to them only after marriage. However, since her friends will likely be helping with the wedding arrangements on her side, I felt the need to communicate with them as well. I haven't spoken to my fiancé in the last 2 days because of this, and now she's saying she is unsure about the marriage, claiming that my desire to meet her friends suggests I will be controlling in the future. I feel like she will text or call me soon. Am I asking for too much by wanting to meet her friends? What should I do? Update 1 month 1 week later. Some time ago, I, 28M, posted about how my fiancé, 32F, asked one of her best friends to block me on Instagram. It hasn't been long since that incident, but today, I was surprised to learn that my fiancé's mother, whom she has always referred to as dead, is actually alive. A few weeks ago, her best friend, who is already married with 1 child, texted me to ask about my fiancé's whereabouts since she hadn't been able to reach her. When my fiancé found out, she immediately asked me to block her, but I refused. Instead, she made that best friend block me, and the rest of the story is already in my previous post. Since then, I have struggled to trust her. My fiancé has always told me that she has no family. She claimed to be an only child and said both her parents had passed away. She used to visit her countryside home every 3 to 4 months, saying she was going to see her aunt, who she claimed was the only person living there. However, something always seemed a little off. Every time she went, she would stay for at least 2 to 3 days. Other things seemed suspicious too. Whenever she received a phone call, the contact name would show as Dad Home, but a woman would always answer, whom she referred to as her aunt. My fiancé has already met my parents, and we were supposed to get married this coming February. However, my parents were hesitant about our marriage because they didn't like the secrecy and were also concerned about her making her best friend block me. I assumed it was just a generational difference and tried to convince my parents that it wasn't a big deal. Still, my parents didn't feel comfortable with the relationship. Last week, they went near my fiancé's office and asked one of her colleagues if she knew anything about her family. However, the colleague didn't know much. I know what my parents did wasn't right, but perhaps they saw the situation from an outsider's perspective and just wanted to protect me. Later, I told them it was inappropriate to bring these matters into a professional space. They agreed not to do it again but urged me to do proper research before moving forward with the marriage. This made me reflect on their concerns from an outsider's perspective, and I started feeling increasingly uneasy about everything. My fiancé never let me talk to or follow any of her friends or relatives on social media. She said the reason she wouldn't introduce me to her family was that they wouldn't approve of an inter-caste or inter-community marriage, as such unions are still not widely accepted in some parts of India. However, she always claimed her parents were open-minded and that she was raised in a modern household. She would criticize my family for being suspicious and backward and even said that if her parents were alive, they would have definitely supported our marriage. Initially, my parents liked my fiancé when they first met her and were happy about the marriage. My father even offered to cover the wedding expenses for her side since she wasn't doing well financially. However, their suspicions grew when she made her best friend block me. All of these things combined made me very suspicious, so today, I decided to visit her countryside home just to check. I went there pretending to be looking for someone else, and when I knocked on the door, her mother answered. I immediately recognized her because my fiancé had shown me photos of her before. It was like seeing a ghost. She looked perfectly fine, smiling, and bearing a strong resemblance to my fiancé. My fiancé and I have barely spoken since the day my parents went to her office. She called my parents crazy for what they did and said that people from my community are cunning and suspicious, constantly spying on others. However, she never acknowledged the fact that she had told such a massive lie to my family. While I admitted that my parents were wrong to inquire about her at her workplace, I also felt that it was unfair for her to speak about my family that way, especially when she had been acting so suspiciously, making people block me and faking her mother's death. I haven't confronted her about this yet, and I don't know what to make of it. This is a huge lie, and I can't think of any valid reason for it. Her mother looked completely fine, around 50 to 60 years old. From what I confirmed from locals nearby, her father had actually passed away, but her mother was living there with her aunt, who lived in a different house just on the adjacent block. I just want to know if there could be any valid reason for this because I honestly can't think of one. Relevant comments. Commenter. Start working on getting out of the false scrape case, segs on the promise of marriage. Talk to a lawyer and gather solid evidence. Do not marry her under any circumstances. Ops response. Yeah, my friend, even I thought about these things when I first found out her mother was alive. I am Bengali, and she is Assamese. My girlfriend is very confusing at times. She has good sides too, like her love for animals, but she also harbors hatred toward Bengalis. I was always scared of that side of her and never really knew what to do. When I look back, I remember very fond memories of us together, you know. She was a huge fan of animals and always rescued injured ones. She has an injured pigeon, an injured cat, and 6 birds in her apartment right now. This paradox is killing me with doubt on the inside. She had very good sides to her, but also very suspicious and quite scary ones. There are terrorist outfits in Assam, and I'm scared. What if she was even a part of one? Although I never got any proof of it. I really don't know. One of her friends, a couple friend, was also linked to taking people's money in the name of high returns and not returning it. That friend once took some of my girlfriend's money as well and didn't return it. My girlfriend told me they had a bad fight and didn't talk for a year, but just 2 months ago, she suddenly started talking to that friend again. So these things are quite suspicious. The logical side of my brain is telling me that just because she liked animals doesn't mean she loved me. She used to say how good the dog was, it stayed the way she kept it and never complained like humans. But then I told her, that's because it's a dog, not a human. Humans will always have their own likes and dislikes. I explained this to her very gently, but she just said, yes, that's true, but I like animals the most. I don't know exactly. Who is she? Second update 1 month later. So, it's been about a month since I posted my question about my fiancée's strange behavior and her lie about her mother being dead. Today, I thought I'd share a small update on the situation because many of you have been asking for it. After discovering that her mother was still alive, I was in shock for a few days. But gradually, I started to feel better, though I was still eager to understand if I had done anything wrong, especially because I had seen both the good and bad sides of her. Now that some time has passed and I can think more clearly, though I do miss her at times, I reflect on what I know about her. She is naturally very compassionate and has shown great kindness toward animals, adopting or helping several stray animals during the 3 years we were together. I've seen her experience happiness, sadness, and vulnerability. I've seen her good side, but she has also been very harsh in her feelings toward my community, language, my parents, and even me. She clearly did things that were wrong, like discouraging interaction with her friends and lying about her mother being dead, among other things. She also lied to me another time in the past, which I consider the second biggest lie after the story about her mother's death. This happened one night when she arrived in my city a day earlier than planned from her village home. I found out because I had been calling her repeatedly. She said she wanted to surprise me, but we didn't end up meeting that day because she asked me not to come over, claiming she was tired and feeling unwell. Later that night, I called her multiple times, but she didn't pick up. The next morning, I went to her flat and discovered she wasn't there. A few hours later, she called me from a friend's phone and explained that she had gone to her friend's house because her friend's boyfriend had come to stay, and the watchman wouldn't allow another guy in the flat. So, they pretended to be family relatives to cover it up. I forgave her for lying that time and chose to trust her again. In hindsight, it was another significant lie, the second biggest in our entire relationship, with the fake story about her mother's death still being the first. About 7 or 8 days ago, I noticed her repeatedly posting WhatsApp updates about how badly I treated her, how she was subjected to loneliness, and how I broke up with her. During that time, I attended a party with some guys and girls, and I saw her posting stories that directly defamed me, even though we had already broken up and I had every right to socialize with whomever I wanted. That day, I messaged her after seeing her status updates, Partly because I was angry about what she had posted and partly because I wanted to know the real reason behind her lie about her mother's death. She responded with a lengthy message, but to summarize, she listed the following reasons. 1. She said she lied about her mother being dead because her mother never received the respect she deserved in her past relationship. Her ex probably never let her stay at her mother's village house for more than 2 days. 2. Her ex-boyfriend was roaming around the city with other girls and probably even cheated on her while her mother was in the hospital. 3. She thought her mother would receive proper respect if she lied about her being dead, just like her late father, who, according to her, was treated respectfully after his passing. None of the reasons she gave seemed serious enough for me to believe. I pointed out that about 90% of her reasons were related to her ex-boyfriend and asked why she had to lie about her mother, especially since I had always been supportive of her family issues. I told her that her explanations didn't make any sense to me at all. She later told me I was wrong to say she has narcissistic personality disorder. I had told her that once before because she never feels sorry and uses gaslighting to hide her mistakes. I read online that these could be symptoms of NPD and suggested she seek expert help. She said she had consulted a psychologist who diagnosed her with CPTSD, which can sometimes cause narcissistic traits. Even so, I don't see how that justifies creating such a complex story about her mother to deceive both me and my parents, even going as far as to give a specific date for her mother's death anniversary. She was also upset with my parents because they found the whole situation suspicious and started asking questions. Although I feel bad and believe she may be dealing with some behavioral disorders, I also suspect there is a deeper, more complex secret, whether it's hers or her family's, that has led to all these lies. In my last conversation with her, I made it clear that, regardless of what she says, we are not in a position to restore the relationship. I don't want to hurt her by doubting her, nor do I want to hurt myself. Trust is something that cannot be rebuilt after everything that's happened, so I asked her to just tell me the truth. However, nothing substantial came from her that I could consider. So, that's the update. I've decided to move on with my life without her, as there's no way forward in this situation. Relevant comments. Commenter. First, I'm so relieved that you cut ties with her. She was not a mentally stable person at all. I'd still like to know the real reason why she never wanted you to meet her friends. She explained about her mother. Excuses are stupid, but why not her friends? Ops response. Last time I spoke to her, she said her mother was the reason she didn't let me meet her friends. Her friends knew her mother was alive, and she was afraid they would tell me. Story 3.
My family forgot to invite me to my grandparents' funeral, but they are convinced I was there. Posted by you/just-away282641. I, 30s caused a major blow-up in my family, and now none of them are talking to me. For background, my hometown is tiny, 500 pop, and when I went 2 hours away to the city, 15,000 pop, for college, I loved it. I ended up staying after graduation, got married, and have been happy here for a decade. I visit my hometown every few weeks or so, call/text my family nearly every day, and thought we were all good. My family's pretty small, just my brother, mom, stepdad, dad, stepmom, and an aunt and uncle, my mom's siblings, never married, no kids. My mother's grandparents moved to my hometown when I was in high school and lived just down the street from us. My family has always been pretty drama-free, aside from my parents' divorce when I was a kid, and we've been happy. The step-parents blended in perfectly, and we share holidays and celebrations together. We're all super close, just the perfect little group. Ever since I moved away, the topic of when are you moving back has been constant, and I've always laughed it off. My hometown has nothing. You have to drive 30 minutes for milk and bread, with 60 to 90-minute one-way commutes to work. Floods shut down the main road every Easter. I love the town, but I love it here more. I have parks, stores, community events, a library. The city is great. My family grumbles that I need to move back, but I refuse. I've been trying to encourage them to come here, especially since it's not an hour's drive to the nearest medical facility. Now to the meat and potatoes. Both my grandparents passed during COVID times. They were both old, and their health had been failing for a while, so it was only a matter of time. Thankfully, they didn't catch it, but it made visiting them impossible, and we survived mostly through FaceTime. They both passed in their sleep, months apart. Both were cremated and kept securely under the kitchen sink for safekeeping while the pandemic blew over. That was 2021. Well, I just found out my family held a funeral for them and scattered the ashes in my uncle's maple grove over the summer. No one said a word to me about it. I visited numerous times before and after, and not one word. I only found out because my great-uncle from California posted on Facebook a few weeks ago that he was entering hospice and was so thankful his health stayed strong enough for him to see his little sister, my grandma, to her final resting place. I was confused and called my mom. She was all, yeah, the funeral we had in July, remember? Y'all, I visited them for the 4th of July. They did the funeral on the 8th. Not a word about it to me. They had planned this for months, long enough to arrange for my infirm great-uncle to be brought over from the other side of the country. Apparently, they talked about it all the time. Everyone is convinced I was at the funeral. They swear I was there. I can prove I wasn't because Google's got my location history. My hubby is baffled because he was supposedly there too, but he had to work every weekend in June and July. The time clock doesn't lie. My family straight up forgot about me. I'm hurt, I'm sad, and they're pissed at me for lying. They think I'm causing drama over nothing. Nothing I say can convince them I wasn't there. My family is united in this, and they've all put me on red until I admit I'm wrong. They think I've gone nuts. Either there's a doppelganger of me attending events, or my family doesn't want to admit they screwed up. I'm not backing down. Thanksgiving is coming up, and my family's been vague posting on Facebook about forgetful kids and mental health. It's so freaking weird, and I don't know if I'm in bizarre world or what's going on. My mom's best friend reached out and said I should just admit I was wrong and apologize, that I'm causing my mom so much unnecessary stress. I asked her if she's checked everyone's home for CO2. She hung up on me. We checked our CO2, and our testers are running just fine. I have reached out to a few people in my hometown to check in on my folks, and they all say they're fine. I even spoke with a local volunteer firefighter group to see if they could check for gas leaks. Not sure if they were able to. I don't know what to do. I've shown them the proof I wasn't there, but they know I'm tech savvy and just assume I photoshopped it. Hubby says we need a break, and we're going to be staying home this holiday season. Update 13 days later. It's November 27th, and Thanksgiving just happened. Hubby and I stayed home. We got a small turkey and made our own little Thanksgiving. It was nice. We ate around noon, then watched a movie, and later sat outside with a bottle of wine to watch the sun set behind the trees and neighbors' houses. We usually take the day before off, drive to my folks' place, stay the night, and help with the Thanksgiving Day cooking. So it wasn't until Wednesday night that my mom broke the silence. She called and asked when I was showing up, and I told her we were staying home this year but for them to have a happy Thanksgiving and to give the rest of the family my love. She was quiet for a long time after I said that, and I think she eventually mumbled an okay or something and hung up. It wasn't an angry hang-up, just a hang-up. On Thanksgiving Day, I sent a group Happy Thanksgiving gift to our family group chat. I received a few Happy Thanksgivings back. No one said anything else. There have been no posts on Facebook. Second update 15 days later. So, I think I mentioned in one of my comments that my dad and I usually talk on the phone every Sunday morning. We're both early risers, so we chat over our morning coffees and watch the sunrise. He and I haven't really spoken since this all went down, and it's been tough. I'm used to talking to him, you know. Well, I was sitting outside in my usual spot, watching the sunrise and freezing my tail off, and he called me. I'm not entirely sure how to describe the emotions I felt. It was a mix of panic, hope, terror, happiness, and dread. I ended up answering because I just had to know what he wanted. It was an awkward conversation. He didn't address the current drama but instead tiptoed around the situation with all the grace of a cow on stilts. For instance, a simple "how are you doing" type of question was answered with a "not good," and the whole conversation would stall out for a bit because he knew why I wasn't doing well. So we ended up talking about the weather, the various winter birds we'd seen at our feeders, and the Christmas decorations around town, things like that. Eventually, he asked if we were coming out for Christmas and sounded sad when I told him we weren't. He asked if he and my stepmom could come visit us instead, and I told him it wasn't a good idea this year, that hubby and I were going to spend a quiet holiday together. I let him know he should be receiving some gifts at his P.O. box any day now, so to please pick them up from the post office and put them under the family tree for everyone. He said he'd ship ours to us as well. And that was pretty much it. No crazy drama to report. The only posts on Facebook have been the usual Christmas excitement ones, countdowns, photos of Santa, silly gift ideas, and photos of company Christmas parties. On a personal note, hubby and I are doing all right. Our health is good, our spirits are high, and we're as solid as ever. We each got Christmas bonuses at our jobs, so we're excited about that. They're not large, but we're happy to have them. We have also done advent calendars for the first time ever. I got him a Lego one, and he got me a hot chocolate one. We're going to do the calendars again next year, maybe make a tradition out of it. Everyone, please have a safe and happy holiday. Edit. I've received a lot of messages and private DMs urging me to look into inheritance and such. I'm really touched that so many internet strangers are worried about me, and I wanted to assure everyone that inheritance is most likely not an issue here. Honestly, I'd almost be relieved if it was, because then it would at least make some sense. Money does weird things to people, you know? No one in my family is wealthy by any means. After my grandparents passed, their small estate was used to pay for their end-of-life expenses, and the remaining assets were split up. Everyone directly related got an equal share, which excluded my dad and the step-parents. I don't remember the exact amount I received, but it was around $5,000 if I recall. My brother gave me his share, too, so I could finish paying off my college debt while the interest freeze was active. The great-uncle from California has kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids of his own, and he also isn't wealthy. I think one of his kids makes good money doing something in finance, but I'm not entirely sure. I can't imagine he left us anything, as we hardly knew him. My mom, aunt, and uncle only met him a few times in their lives, and my brother and I even less. Grandma and he were close, but I don't think he liked my grandpa much. Third update 13 days later. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. I've received a lot of support through my posts, and I'm really grateful. Writing these updates has had a therapeutic effect. Yesterday was Sunday, but I didn't answer my dad when he called. I just really didn't feel up to a pointless chat, so I let it go to voicemail. He tried to reach me a few times throughout the day, but I didn't answer. Our bestie last minute invited us over to his house for Christmas Day lunch today, so my husband and I were busy all Christmas Eve making cookies, peanut brittle, and homemade suckers/hard candies for his kids. Mom tried to reach out as well, but I also ignored her calls. We had a blast at lunch. Our friends' kids are a lot of fun to be around. They got some techie presents from their grandparents, a Quest VR headset and Steam decks, lucky little rascals. Our friend and his wife aren't good with tech, while my hubby and I are, so we helped get them set up while our friend played a good host to his folks' in-laws. The grandparents didn't realize that a Steam Deck required a Steam account, so we got the kids their own account set up, added them to our Steam friends lists, and gifted them some games. We also bought them a few VR games for their headset, and they were off to the races with Beat Saber in no time. As for my folks, my brother texted and asked if we could talk sometime tomorrow. I think me ignoring mom and dad has caused some kind of upset, which they deserve. Fourth update 1 day later. Spoke with my brother over the phone this morning. For starters, he apologized for everything. He and I are good, for now. For a bit of background, my brother and I are only 2 years apart. There weren't a lot of kids around growing up, so the two of us were often stuck doing stuff together. We have a lot of shared interests and passions. He's been pretty silent on this whole matter but still part of the group, if you know what I mean. I think the thought of losing him from my life was probably the most painful because he's always been there. He was my rock until I met my husband. He's definitely a mama's boy, though, so anything mom wanted, he made sure she got. I'm happy to have him back. Without further ado, here's the story from the horse's mouth. Mom apparently had a cancer scare late last year, which no one told me about, go figure, and Dad had a stent put in his heart back in January, which I did know about. This sense of mortality has apparently lit a fire under Mom's tail to get me back home. But since I wasn't reacting to her passive-aggressive hinting, she and stepmom decided to go full crazy. My great-uncle's health was bad, and he'd been asking about funeral arrangements for his sister, my grandma, for a while, so the moms decided to plan it, and use the event as a giant middle finger to me. They kept all the planning pretty hush-hush between the two of them, so no one on our side of the family actually knew about the funeral until about 2 weeks before. The moms said they'd invited hubby and me. No one thought anything about it, no one thought to mention, confirm, or check with me. The plan was to scatter the ashes, say a few words, and maybe head to town for lunch. It was a small affair. The moms didn't even tell the family that our great-uncle was coming for it. Like I said, it was a small thing, barely a footnote. No one thought it was odd because we're pretty chill people. The 4th of July happens. Hubby and I are out. No one thought to mention it, as we were all busy celebrating and having a great time. Anytime the topic of this weekend came up, one of the moms quickly shifted the conversation. We went back home. July 8th happens. Great-uncle rolls into town with a few of his kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, and it's a surprise to everyone, except the moms. Everyone drives to the Maple Grove, and the moms have brought a ton of food and stuff. It's a full-blown party. No one on my side noticed I wasn't there because there were so many extra faces outside the usual group. They did the spreading of the ashes, said their words, ate, and had a great time. It wasn't until our great-uncle left, and all his side left with him, that they realized I wasn't there, and hadn't been there. And this is where the crazy went up a notch. My brother says the moms were happy no one noticed I wasn't there. And that this was proof to everyone that I needed to move back because I was so easily forgotten. Because none of them thought to reach out, right? They basically did a ton of guilt-tripping manipulation BS, making everyone upset at me for not showing up. Somehow, it was my fault for being excluded. So suddenly, everyone was on their side with sticking it to me. But then a few months went by, tempers cooled, and I guess the horror of it set in, followed by shame. But by then, they were in too deep. How do you undo something like this? And since I hadn't brought it up, I guess they figured they would all just stay quiet about it and hope I never asked about the funeral. That's when I discovered the situation from my great-uncle's Facebook and called my mom, who panicked and went with the stupidest solution, claiming I was there. Don't I remember? I ended up talking with a few friends from high school, mentioning the situation, and word got back to those in town. So suddenly, town gossip and little old church ladies got involved. Was I, or wasn't I, at the funeral? Did my family forget to invite me to the funeral of the only grandparents I'd ever known? Or am I just causing a ruckus? My brother said they all just went with Mom's answer. Of course, they wouldn't forget me. Of course, I was there. Of course, they're good people. And it just snowballed. The family expected me to eventually fold. I'm usually a non-confrontational person, so me sticking to my guns was unexpected. And then I missed Thanksgiving. And now Christmas. With no sign of backing down. And I guess the realization that I could just stop being part of their lives is setting in, and my parents are panicking. He's tried getting them to apologize and explain, but stubbornness prevails. They want a rug sweep, but I'm not letting them. My brother is upset with everything that's happened. He's realized just how crappy it all has been, and he wants nothing to do with it anymore. But since he lives with my mom, he can't get away from it. He has asked if he can come stay with us for a little bit. I spoke with hubby, and he agrees that my brother can crash in our spare bedroom for as long as he wants. Brother works remotely, so it's no trouble for him to pick up and go. I believe he's making the trip today or tomorrow. Not entirely sure, but I expect crap to hit the fan when he arrives. On a side note, hubby's stoked that my brother and I made up. The two usually game together but haven't due to the situation. He's downstairs right now setting up his man cave in preparation for my brother's arrival. I'm happy to see him so excited. Edit. My brother rolled in late last night. He'd obviously been crying, and when I opened the door, he just held me and sobbed. I'd never seen him like that before, and soon both of us were just standing in the doorway, crying into one another. He kept apologizing, over and over again. Said he wasn't sure why he went with it. Just kept saying sorry. Hubby got him all set up in the spare bedroom while my brother and I talked. My brother's a wreck. He's always been a big guy, but he's lost a lot of weight, and his clothes just hang off him. If I didn't know better, I'd think he was on drugs. We talked for a little bit before bed, and he re-explained everything for my husband. I told hubby the story, but it was just so weird that hearing it again helped. This morning, my brother was up at dawn making some coffee and getting his workday going. Hubby's off all week, lucky, so he made us working folks some pancakes and bacon. So far, everything's peaceful. We've decided not to answer any calls from our family. They've been made aware that he arrived safely, that we are going to spend New Year's together, and that we're not answering any calls until January 1st. They may text if they wish. I'm sure they're losing their minds. Serves them right. Everyone, have a safe and happy New Year. Don't drink and drive. 5th update 1 week later. I hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable holiday, and may the new year be full of joy and happiness. Not much of an update, things here have been quiet. My brother's settled in nicely, and he's a great housemate. Our place isn't very big, but we have a full basement and a nice outside patio/porch area, so it doesn't feel crowded at all with the extra addition. He's a quiet and clean guy, no hassle at all. He got some fresh clothes from Walmart, a haircut, and trimmed his beard, so he's more presentable now. He's a lady killer when he gets cleaned up. He's made nice with the, very nosy but kind, retired couple next door and is adapting to city living nicely. Folks back home have been mostly well behaved. There have been a few texts back and forth, as we're not answering calls. Mom mainly wants to know when my brother's coming back, but he's keen on staying here for a while. Mom said I can't keep him, and I told her he's a grown man and can do what he wants. My brother says he has her blocked after she ordered him to return home. My brother has tentatively asked if he could stay long term, should he decide to, or at least longer than a usual visitor would. We're fine with that. He has a good paying job and could afford an apartment, but he's never lived on his own, and I would guess he has some anxiety about it. Should that be the case, he'll start paying us some rent, and we'd probably adjust to give him the basement as his own space. 6th update 15 days later. My brother is officially staying with us for the long haul. Hubby and he spend all Sunday organizing the basement and shifting things around so he now has his own area to be comfortable in. He's pretty handy and has also started fixing little things around our house. Our windows and doors have never closed and locked/unlocked more smoothly. He even fixed one of the closets we never used because we could never get the darn door open. Sadly, he also had to change the locks on our house and get us all new keys. This is because while hubby and I were out this Saturday, the moms showed up. They'd been calling and texting us all week, but we weren't really answering them, so I guess the two decided to drive over and hash it out in person. They have emergency keys to my place and just let themselves in. My brother told them to leave, they argued, and my nosy, but kind, neighbors called the police when they noticed the commotion. So, we got a call from the neighbor's wife, returned home to some cops in our yard, all the neighbors out vacuuming their trees, and my nosy, but kind, neighbors standing on my porch with my brother behind them, doing their best Gandalf you shall not pass impression. We had to talk with the cops, explain that we were having a family dispute, and I word vomited. I don't really remember everything I said and was shaking a lot. Our local cops are really great, fantastic guys and gals in blue, and took it all in stride. It was really cold, so one had me join him in his cruiser with the heat on and gave me a bottle of water to calm down while we talked. They asked if we wanted the moms trespassed, but I wasn't sure if that counted as a criminal charge, so I just asked the cops if they could make them leave, which they did with no fuss. I think the moms were shocked we were taking this so seriously. They didn't fight or scream at us, just left quietly. My dad promised me he'd make sure his wife left us alone, or else. He said he'd also have a stern talk with my mom. He and I talked Sunday morning, and he seemed absolutely at the end of his rope. Hubby jokingly told my dad he could move in too, to which he declined. Not sure where to go from here, but we're getting some Ring cameras installed once they arrive. And everyone but my dad is blocked. Hopefully, they all just leave us alone. 7th update 16 days later. Had a lot of DMs asking for updates, but I don't have much to report. The moms are behaving themselves. All's quiet on the Western Front. Felt weird ignoring or copy-pasting no updates to everyone, so here's what we've been up to, should anyone care. Dad got a new bird/squirrel feeder from Amazon. It looks like a little picnic table for a child's doll but has a mesh top for the bird seed. I think it's supposed to be for chickens. It's totes adorbs. To his horror, it also works as a Cooper's hawk feeder, so now he's fortifying his defenses by putting up some trellises around it. He'll have to wait for warmer weather before planting anything to grow on them. We had some Ring cameras installed and added a motion-activated camera that also functions as a light bulb. It goes in the light fixture outside the front door and is pretty cool. The video quality isn't great, but it's a nice addition, I guess. It does overlook the bird feeders, so I've been watching it on my lunch breaks on the days I have to go into the office. Hubby and my brother are feuding. They started a co-op farm in Stardew Valley a few days ago, and they both want to romance Leah. My husband confided in me that he's also been romancing Sebastian as a backup. I'm not sure why he's keeping this a secret, but he's pretty smug about it. 8th update 3 weeks later. My dad came out for a visit over the weekend. We had a good time, and the weather was lovely for some grilling and beers. It was really nice to see him again, and he seemed healthy and in good spirits. Here's his report from back home. My stepmom, Dad's wife, has started to realize she's screwed up. I credit her change of mindset to the fact that my dad sat her down and laid it out for her. She either leaves his kids alone, or she gets divorce papers. That apparently shut her up right quick because they had a prenup when they married, and while I'm not sure of the details, it wouldn't end favorably for her. She hasn't worked in years, so I imagine she'd be eligible for alimony? But I'm not well versed in any of that legal mumbo-jumbo. Dad didn't seem too worried about it, so I'm not going to worry about it. My stepdad was pissed that the police were involved in the last mom visit, despite no one getting arrested or anything, and had the kids are out of control and need to be reined back in mindset. When my dad pointed out that the kids in question were all in their mid-30s, it took some of the steam out of my stepdad's sails. According to my dad, even my mom looked a little surprised when he said that. So, part of me is wondering if a good chunk of this whole thing is my mom not truly realizing that her kids are grown and no longer children she can make demands of. Both moms have left us alone. I expected my mom to continue to kick up a fuss, but I think the cops spooked her. There was a wonderful suggestion from a commenter to get their pastor involved, which I passed along to my dad. Dad has since spoken to their pastor about everything. He's a young guy, relatively new to their church, and joked that in his first month on the job, he had to do 3 funerals in a row and that his new flock was just dying to get away from him, so he's got a sense of humor, which is nice. The new pastor agreed to sit down with everyone and help the family hash it all out in a true come-to-Jesus type moment next month, so maybe we could celebrate Easter together as our first holiday as a family. Dad said the pastor was aware our family was having some troubles but was unsure of exactly what was going on, and since he was new, he didn't want to pry. He has also agreed to do a small service down at my uncle's Maple Grove later in the summer, as it usually floods and is a muddy mess all spring. According to my dad, my aunt and uncle are so over all the drama and just ready to move on, so I expect hugs and apologies from them when we next meet. Stardew Valley update: my brother was victorious in the grand fight for Leah. It was a hard battle, well fought. When my husband exposed his plans to woo Sebastian all this time, it was quite the betrayal. Dramatics aside, their farm is really cute, and I'm so happy they're enjoying the game. 9th update 1 month later. Happy April Fools, everyone. I hope you all check your caramel apples for stray onions before taking a bite. I also hope your Easter weekend was a delightful one. It is with great joy that I tell you all about our most recent update, possibly even a conclusion to this whole ordeal. The entire family, aunt, uncle, mom's, dad's, brother, me, husband, and pastor met at my dad's house, and we all sat down to hash the situation out. As expected, based on what my dad said, my aunt and uncle greeted us all with apologies and hugs, which was nice. My uncle usually helps host the Easter egg hunts with the church, and he brought our Easter baskets to give to us in case we kids weren't sticking around for the weekend. I'm not sure why, but seeing it made me tear up and feel stupid because it was just a basket of candy, yet it meant a lot to me for some reason. The pastor led us in a prayer and talked about forgiveness and such. He then asked us all to speak one at a time about how we were feeling and what we wanted the outcome of the day to be. No one was allowed to interrupt, so everyone got to talk. It was nice. The group consensus was that most everyone wanted things to go back to normal. The only ones who had any variance from this were my mom and stepdad. They both wanted all of us kids to move back to the area. The pastor asked them why they wanted us back, and neither could give a good reason other than because family. Then the pastor asked us if we were thriving where we were, and we said we were. He asked if we were happy there, which we were. He then asked my mom and stepdad if they wanted us to give up our happiness to make them happy. And mom broke down and said no. We all had a good cry. The pastor then asked about the funeral and the lies that led up to it and followed it, how it made us all feel, and what we wished we had done differently if we had the chance. It was all very emotional, but in a good way, you know. Everyone apologized and admitted they had messed up and done a really crappy thing. We all talked for a long time, and the pastor was a great mediator. Eventually, we all reached some sort of resolution, and I think we're good now. Emotions are still high and a little raw in some areas, but we stayed for Easter weekend and had a nice time. We're going to keep moving forward slowly and try to repair the relationship, but I believe we're well and truly out of the woods. As for my brother, he's still staying with us, and mom will stop trying to guilt trip him into coming back home. He's thinking about renting a small apartment in our area, but we're not pushing him to make a decision. He knows he's welcome to stay as long as he wants. I think he wants to try dating. He's had a few girlfriends but never anything serious, and is embarrassed to bring any girls around our place, lol. He's been going to a few random classes and book clubs at the local library for something free to do and has been hitting it off with all the little old ladies who attend. They keep trying to set him up with girls his age who they know. He has been on a few lunch and coffee dates with a couple of girls, but I think he's too embarrassed by the attention to give dating a real try. He's happy, though, which is all I could ask for. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates, as I think everything has been resolved as much as it can be at the moment. I wanted to thank you all for your words of advice and for giving me a place to vent and scream into the void. Please be kind to one another and to yourselves. Thank you, everyone. 10th update 1 month later. Things as wonderful as the moment. Still taking baby steps with the moms. We're texting and talking on the phone more, which is nice, very civil. Dad said he accidentally bought a bunch of handcrafted bird feeders at a craft fair. By accidentally, I mean he had a little too much fun in the beer tent, went for a stroll while stepmom wasn't looking, and stumbled upon a guy's booth and bought one of each. He wouldn't tell me how many one of each was, but he cackled like a witch when I asked. Stepmom said she's forcing him to give a few to me, so I'm expecting a delivery or a dad visit any day now. My brother is officially going steady with a girl. We've met her a few times, and she seems like a real sweetheart. She's our age and has a little boy, 5 to 6 years old, I haven't asked, from a previous relationship. The dad's not in the picture from what I can gather. She's the granddaughter of one of his book club members, so the old ladies made good matchmakers in the end. The relationship is still very new, and I'm rooting for them. No new Stardew Valley updates. Work has been a little crazy lately, and I haven't been able to play much of anything, and my brother has been distracted by his new lady friend. So, my husband finally started Baldur's Gate 3 and fell for Gale's magic trick, so now those two are a thing. I expect him to be sufficiently distracted from reality for the next few weeks. 11th update 10 months later. I hope everyone's doing wonderfully. I know it's been a while. Lots of little happy updates incoming. My brother moved out. He's only 5 minutes away, so it's not far, but he's officially living on his own. He's going steady with the same girl, and she's a catch, sweet as can be. She fits into the family so well, and everyone just adores her. She's going to school to be a nurse, and I know she's going to crush it. Hubby and I get to babysit her kiddo regularly, and he's a total hoot. At first, he was overly polite and a bit shy, but one day my husband picked him up while wearing his SCP hoodie. Turns out the kid is a massive SCP fan. So we've all bonded, and he's really opened up around us. Assuming my brother and she are still together come August, we're hoping they continue going strong. There's talk about the kiddo taking the school bus to our place after school. There's a stop at the bottom of our street, and it would be no trouble for us to have him chill at our house for a few hours until his mom is off work, have him work on homework or whatever. I might have to learn whatever new math is, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Mom's mellowed the frick out. She's stopped her insanity and seems to have accepted the new normal. Dad says she's turning back into the woman he once married, which is a bit depressing but also good, I guess. From what he says, Mom has started cross-stitching again, which my brother and I never even knew she knew how to do. Apparently, she used to be massively into the hobby, but after my brother and I were born, she was terrified we'd get into the needles and hurt ourselves, so she put it all away and never touched it again. Stepdad says she's much more relaxed and calm lately, which makes me happy. She's respected our boundaries and has only come to visit when we've allowed it. Our relationship has improved drastically. Dad and stepmom are also doing well. Stepmom and we actually bonded quite nicely in January. She needed hip surgery, and since Dad's house has more steps than High Hrothgar, it was decided that she would stay with my husband and me. Her doctor scheduled the surgery at our local branch of their hospital, and after she was released, she came back to our place. She ended up staying with us for most of January due to a massive ice storm that tore through the area. I've spent time with her before, but never like this or for this long. It was like seeing a whole new side of her that I never knew. When Dad finally came to pick her up, I was actually sad to see her leave. You will all be happy to hear that we did manage to hold a memorial for my grandparents. It was exactly what my soul needed. I didn't realize how much I needed that closure until it was done, like someone took a weighted blanket off me, and I could breathe again. It was a lovely service, and a few of the little old church ladies made us some finger foods to have back at the church afterward. We all sat around eating and sharing stories about Grandma and Grandpa. Our next scheduled visit is for Easter, and I can honestly say I'm looking forward to it. I feel like I have my family back again. Please be kind to each other and take care of yourselves. Thank you for letting me shout into the void.
Story 4.
My husband and his affair partner died in a car accident, leaving behind their 2 kids. Now everyone expects me to take them in and raise them as my own like a good mom should. Posted by u/scaredycat1122. My 45F husband, 49M, of 23 years had an affair with a 20-year-old girl starting in 2020. I found out this year when his affair partner gave birth to twin boys in March. Obviously, we were going to divorce. We've been hashing things out since then. It's been a lengthy process due to some properties we own in common, and we needed to get an accountant because he used the shared account for his affair. Finally, things seemed to be getting close to the end when both my husband and the woman he cheated with were killed in a car crash. By some miracle, the twin babies were not harmed in the crash. Now they are orphaned and neither set of grandparents can take them in permanently. My husband's parents are both in assisted living, he had no siblings, and the only aunt who could take them refuses. She's been child-free her whole life. On the woman's side, I'm not sure of all the details, but her parents are also unable to be involved long-term, and her only sister lives overseas. Since we were still married and he had not updated his will, all his assets are set to pass to me and our 2 children. I'm not callous enough to leave those babies with nothing, so I agree to let whoever becomes their legal guardian have the remaining balance in the shared account, about $25,000 in savings. The issue is that no one wants to take them in. Now my in-laws are pressuring me to take them in and raise them. The problem is, I don't want to, at all. I wouldn't love them, and I don't want to be the evil stepmother. But I know a big part of me will always have some level of resentment toward them. I would probably favor my own children. It's not their fault, but I truly loved my husband, and I thought we were happy before I found out about the affair. We have 2 daughters, 14 and 16. Obviously, we had disagreements, but we never insulted each other before. Then I found out about the affair, and he began calling me names and blaming me for his cheating. He became abusive and even tried to kick me out of the house, my childhood home, which is not shared property, for the record. I'm also raising teenagers alone now. I don't have the energy to raise babies anymore. My daughters hate their baby brothers. I tried to get them to spend time with their dad as we were divorcing, but they refused. Since this all came out because of the babies, there wasn't really a way to sugarcoat the situation. And they are also too old for me to get away with it. Most of my friends agree it's not my place to care for those children, but my in-laws, the affair woman's parents, and my mother want me to raise them. I know my mom is just having grandkids fever, but it hurts not to have her support. I have to make a decision by next week or the boys will be going into foster care. At the moment, they are temporarily placed with their maternal grandparents. I feel horrible, but I am very sure I can't take them in. Would I be wrong if I refused to take them in? Editor's note: I couldn't find the exact time frame between each update throughout updates 1 to 6, it could have spanned several months. First update. Hey everyone, this blew up far more than I thought, and I appreciate the well wishes for my girls, the boys, and myself. Also, thank you to the many lovely people offering to help give the twins a good home. I might not be their mother, but it touches me and makes me glad there are good people out there. After thinking carefully, speaking to my lawyer, reading responses, doing research, etc., I plan to speak to the grandparents tomorrow and refuse to take legal guardianship of the boys. I will let them know the usernames of people who offered to meet for private adoptions or fostering, but my daughters are my priority. It will be up to the twins' grandparents to decide if they'll proceed with adoption, keep them, or turn them over to the state. I wish I had the mental capacity to be the person to do this, but I have 2 girls who are going through a lot, and they need my full attention. I'll also be talking to the lawyers to figure out if the boys have any inheritance claim properly. If they do, I'll separate it and leave it to the lawyers to do what they need to do for them to have access when it's best. If they don't, I'll find a way to ensure they have access to the $25,000 I was going to give them from the beginning. I won't do more, however. My moral compass might be biased, but I don't believe I'm obligated, morally or legally, to do more than what the law says. I can't help everyone, and I shouldn't have to. I have 2 girls who lost their father, 2 girls who need therapy, 2 girls who are just about to go to college. They've gone through enough without seeing their mother favor the children of their father's mistress. Second update. Hey everyone, as I mentioned 2 nights ago, I went yesterday to speak to the twins' grandparents. I explained my position and refused to take guardianship of the boys. My mother-in-law almost slapped me when I said that, but thankfully, this was all done in a public place, and my father-in-law stopped her. The maternal grandparents kept pleading for me to raise them since they didn't want to lose them. I kept saying no, and when they called me selfish, I lost it. I told them to their faces that the only selfish people in this mess were them and their son and daughter. Their son, my husband, for cheating and then making the divorce hell for me and my girls. Their daughter because she was a WHRE, I used another word, who went after a married man twice her age. I told them if I heard from them again, I would request a cease and desist. I also informed my parents-in-law that they won't have access to my daughters for the foreseeable future. I'll explain why in a bit. We were at a restaurant, but I didn't stay for the meal. I also sent an email to my lawyer so he can ensure CPS and any agency involved in the welfare of the twins is aware that I'm not going to be their guardian or be involved. Then I sent an email to my in-laws with all the usernames and websites from people here on Reddit who have offered to do interviews for the twins' adoption. I won't be involved beyond this point, so please, as lovely as it is, I can't help you if you are interested in the boys. Yesterday was the end of my involvement. As for why my in-laws won't see my girls, I spoke to my daughters and decided to find out more about their thoughts before I went to meet the grandparents. My youngest refused to speak to me, which I found very out of character for her. My eldest then asked for just the 2 of us to talk. That's when she explained that my in-laws had been going on about how the girls need to get ready to go to public school instead of their private school and get jobs right out of high school since I would have to provide the twins with private schooling and college money. Apparently, they were also told to start moving their stuff to share a room. My girls have separate rooms, since the twins need more space. This was not known to me, mostly because that would never happen. Apparently, my in-laws have been basically bullying the girls because the babies take priority. Yeah, that's not happening. I told the girls that their grandparents have no say in where they go to school, their college funds, or how the rooms are set in our house. I also said I do agree they could use a part-time job during college and maybe a scholarship, but their tuition will be paid. I told them not to blame the babies for the stupidity of the adults. They told me they understand, but they still don't want to interact with their brothers for now. That for now part gives me hope they'll get through things. For now, we're going to make some changes in the house. The girls and I both don't like that there's still an office space that my husband used. We're going to make it into a gaming room for all of us. I plan to take down some pictures that have my husband in them and put them in albums for the girls. We just want to make the house more ours. For those wondering why my girls want nothing to do with their father, my daughters were the ones who discovered the affair and told me when my husband took them to meet the twins at the hospital. He had asked them to keep it a secret, but my girls told me. After that, my husband began treating them horribly too. He burned all bridges with the girls. Third update. I spoke to a lawyer on Monday. The boys have no inheritance claim until a DNA test is done. After that, their only claim will be against my in-laws. The shared account is not considered my husband's individual property, so it's mine. The same goes for the lake house. Since he had a personal savings account and a life insurance policy, which went to his parents, that will be the only thing the boys could claim. Obviously, this could change if it goes to trial, but the lawyer told me that with how little my husband left my girls and me, there's very little chance a judge will demand our assets. The lawyer also recommended that I completely end the idea of sharing any money with the boys. That could be used against me to claim I'm taking financial responsibility for them and should be considered their guardian. I'm dividing the money from the shared account for my daughter's college tuition. I'm still unsure if I'll sell the lake house or not, but neither the girls nor I are attached to it. Now, please leave me alone about the boys' inheritance. Sad as it is, my husband messed everything up for his children. I'm not responsible for them, nor do I have to sacrifice my assets to set them up for a better life. Fourth update. There's some good news and some annoying news. The good news is that the boys were safely retrieved by CPS from their maternal grandparents and will be placed in foster care until a permanent arrangement is made. I found out when it happened because their grandparents, and my mother, came to scream at me at work. In all honesty, I'm glad this happened at work and not at home. It's made me consider moving, as I don't want my daughters exposed to any of this. An annoyance I had soon after was getting a call about my inquiries into fostering and adopting. Apparently, my information was sent to CPS as someone interested in fostering the twins and eventually adopting. I immediately explained the situation between the grandparents and me, and the operator was speechless at first. She apologized for the situation and told me she would make sure I wasn't bothered about the process. I also got served this morning. My in-laws are suing for grandparents' rights. They are also suing for custody. Apparently, they are planning to leave their assisted living, which they really shouldn't, to buy a house that allows kids, to get the twins back, and now also want custody of my daughters. My personal lawyer immediately gave me some instructions I won't share to safeguard myself and my daughters from some risks during a possible custody battle. My lawyer and I both suspect my in-laws want the girls to be parentified as caretakers for the twins since my in-laws have mobility limitations. It will be a cold day in hell before that happens. I don't see CPS placing the boys with them to begin with. Not all is bad news. I'm starting therapy next week, and my eldest daughter is once again talking about the colleges she wants to attend. We still haven't really talked about their father or gotten them to agree to visit his grave. I, myself, haven't gone there, and I'm trying really hard to get used to not calling him my husband anymore. I had nothing to do with the funeral plans aside from paying bills, and from what I heard, his parents had the epitaph, devoted and beloved husband, father, and son written on it. I find it a joke. I know it's bad to hold on to so much anger and resentment, but as soon as I have time, I plan to change his tombstone to remove husband and father. It might sound petty, but I refuse to speak well of a cheater and abuser just because he's dead. My daughters deserved better, and so did I. And for anyone complaining about me changing the tombstone, I paid for everything in the end. So, stick your complaints you know where. I don't think I'll post another update until the whole mess with the grandparents' rights lawsuit is resolved. So to the kind people who have sent support to me and my daughters, thank you so much. Maybe I'll have good news in the future. Fifth update. Hey everyone, some people have been asking me for updates, and to be honest, I had nothing until today. To start, cousins from my ex-husband's side of the family took the boys in. I know them, they are lovely, and I know they'll give the twins a great life. The new parents, calling them Matt and Kim, talked to my daughters and let them know if they ever want to reach out to their half-brothers, they just have to call. Otherwise, they can just see them as distant cousins. My girls thanked them but insisted they don't really want a sibling relationship at this time, though maybe as cousins it will be okay. I did offer them the money from the shared account since they are family, but they said not to worry as they don't need it. Kim even insisted I use that money for a vacation for my girls and me. Apparently, I look like the living dead. They also set very strict boundaries with my in-laws and the parents of my ex's affair partner. They can see the boys, but they won't be seen as grandparents. This apparently caused a big fight with the affair partner's parents, and Matt and Kim then cut them off. Again, threats of suing for grandparents' rights were thrown around, but they went nowhere. That's how I found out why the affair partner's parents couldn't take the boys permanently. The father is a convicted felon in an abuse case. I won't share the details out of respect, but if what Matt and Kim told me is true, I'm glad the boys won't grow up with that man as an example. The only reason his wife had temporary guardianship was because of the sudden death of the parents and the process to find a relative to raise the boys. She would have had to live away from her husband to allow permanent custody, and she wasn't willing to do so. My ex-in-laws realized that threats were not going to work, so they agreed to be great uncles instead. Good for them, I guess. Now, they want me to let them live with me and the girls since they left assisted living recently, and the place they were in doesn't have any openings. This place has a long wait list, and the only reason they got in originally was because my ex and I offered to pay for 5 years in full. They still had 2 full years paid for, which I was going to cover. After everything they put my daughters and me through, I'd rather burn money on a grill than spend it on them. I know they want my girls and me to be their caretakers. I won't even consider it. My daughters have their own paths to follow, and honestly, I want to consider meeting someone new. I know it sounds like I'm moving on too quickly, but I've been working to move on since I found out about the affair. I don't think my ex deserves me to go through a mourning period. I already mourned our relationship. At least, that's what my eldest daughter said, funny enough. She's been encouraging me to go out and meet someone. We still have that custody lawsuit from my ex-in-laws going and a few other issues that I will update when I have more, but I wanted to at least let everyone know the boys are safe and together. 6th update. So, we had mediation this week for the grandparents' rights lawsuit. This is just to avoid taking up space on a judge's already heavily stressed docket, though I knew it would go nowhere. My ex-in-laws' demands were for the girls to either be in their custody or spend weekdays with them and weekends with me. Even the court-appointed mediator told them they were not being realistic with their expectations. My lawyer and I had only one offer and were not willing to negotiate. They will see my daughters only if they want to and when they want to. The mediator also thought we were being unfair. That's when a detail came out. My ex-in-laws had claimed my daughters are 6 and 4, a whole decade younger than they really are, to the mediator. I provided him with birth certificates, as well as showed him a picture of the girls. The mediator shook his head and said he couldn't help in this case. My daughters are too old for grandparents' rights to even be considered. He will send a recommendation for the grandparents' rights lawsuit to be dropped, but the custody one will still be going since neither my ex-in-laws nor I agree on custody. I refuse to give them any legal control over my daughters. They are now also demanding I make them the legal guardians if I happen to pass away. That'll never happen. On some strange news, I met the sister of my ex's affair partner. She brought some items to my house that she knew had to be stolen from me. These are things that were supposed to be in storage: my wedding dress, an old jewelry box that had a picture of my grandparents, some of my coats that are a bit pricey, shoes, and, what creeped me out the most, copies of my personal documents, passport, IDs, etc. The sister told me she was cleaning up their place when she found my property and used the address shown in the documents. She was rather nice and apologized for her parents and sister. I did ask her why she refused to take the twins, and she told me that she did because she was tired of being the emergency plan for her family. She didn't say more, and I didn't think it was right to ask her. She knew they were my items because apparently the affair partner had bragged about my ex-husband giving her these items, except for the documents. She has no idea what's going on with that, but she didn't want anything to do with identity theft. She did bring some things that weren't mine and I let her know, so I only kept my property. I told my lawyer about the IDs issue, and he helped me get my credit frozen. I'll be getting new IDs and passports. We did report the possible identity theft to the police, so we'd have the report in case my personal information was used for something illegal or to put me in any trouble. I didn't know one could make a report on a dead person, but apparently this happens more often than I imagined. And no, this won't turn into a posthumous conviction. It's just paperwork to protect myself. And a last funny note, I'm planning to burn that wedding dress and make s'mores over the fire. Call me petty, but I don't care. 7th update 1 month later. I can't believe I ever had to make a post about my mother, but here we are. My 45F, mother, 71F, and I have a difficult relationship. My mother was an old-school traditional wife. She was a homemaker, never did any work outside the house, and had far more kids than what I think is healthy, 7 girls and 6 boys. She is originally from Guatemala and came to the US when she was 14. She married my father here, had her family here, and tried to make sure my siblings and I had old-school values, something she really failed at. Most of my siblings are as far from my mother as humanly possible. 2 of them sadly passed away. I'm the only one who stayed nearby to take care of our parents, and since Dad died, I've taken on my mother's bills so she can live comfortably. She's always been a dramatic headache, especially when it came to my marriage. She babied my husband and always took his side. I only wanted 1 kid, but my husband wanted as many as biologically possible. He had told me he also only wanted 1 when we talked about marriage. My mother helped him mess with my birth control, so I got pregnant with my youngest. I don't regret my youngest daughter, but after she was born, I secretly had my tubes tied. My mother always berated me for being faulty since I only had 2 children. That's not even counting how she berated me for marrying old. I married at 22, she married at 16. My husband was 49 when he died in a car crash recently. We shared 2 daughters, 14 and 16. He was also having an affair with a girl since 2020. The girl was 24 when she died. Together, they had twin boys earlier this year, who thankfully survived the crash. My daughters found out about the affair first, when their father took them to the hospital to meet the babies and told the girls to keep it a secret from me. They didn't, and my husband became abusive toward them and me. We were in the process of divorcing when he died. When my husband's affair came out, my mother blamed me. She said it was because I was a working woman who didn't please her husband. That I didn't give him enough children. That I wasn't pretty anymore. I'm not going to say I'm super attractive, but I think I look good for my age. I've kept my weight well enough, and I look relatively young for my age. But no, according to my dear mother, I wasn't good enough for my husband, who needed a girl closer in age to our daughters than to him. She was also among those angry at me for refusing to adopt my husband's affair children. Her newest crazy is that she's trying to find husbands for my daughters, mainly focused on my eldest. This insane plan started this week when my eldest came out to us. I had an idea, and I'm happy she felt comfortable enough, in this massive mess we're in, to still tell me and her sister. My daughter also decided to tell my mother. My mother just ended the call. Then she called me to scream about how confused and sick my daughter is. She's linked me to conversion camps, psychologists who claim homosexuality is a sickness, political articles, etc. She even wanted to see about doing an exorcism. I told her to stop it or she would be in no contact with my in-laws. She stopped for literally 24 hours. The next thing I get is a Facebook message from a man in his mid-20s asking if it was true that I was looking to marry off my 16-year-old daughter. I told him he was sick and blocked him. I got 6 more through the night. Then my mother called, saying she found husband prospects for my girls. My high school-aged girls. Angry has been an understatement. She even gave some of these men my daughter's cell phone numbers. We're all getting new phone numbers tomorrow, and I had the girls set their social media to private. I don't know what part of the brain is broken in my mother's mind. I had the girls block their grandmother on everything, and I'm stopping payments for anything my mother needs. I know I need to call the cops. I just never thought I would need to call the cops on my own mother. It's been only 2 weeks since I had to cut off my in-laws. I'm just exhausted. And please, do not think this is a normal Hispanic thing, it's not. My aunts are amazing women, most of them also homemakers. They are actually on my side about cutting off my mother and calling the cops. They even suggested my daughters and I move closer to them in another state. This is just my mother being insane. Editor's note, I couldn't find the exact time frame between updates 8 to 9, it could have spanned a couple months. 8th update. We went to the police today, and they took all the information I had. The officer we spoke with was incredible and immediately helped my lawyer with everything needed for a temporary restraining order. We'll be filing it this week and hopefully getting it within the month. After that, we'll focus on a permanent restraining order. This is against my mother and any third parties acting on her behalf. The officer was also kind enough to offer to check on us and our house at least once a day. The school has also been notified of the situation, and one of my brothers is going to come live with my daughters and me until we decide if /where/ when we move. I can't just up and pack everything since I still have a job and my girls are in the middle of the school year. For now, we're safe, and my girls have new phone numbers. 9th update. Some good news came out today regarding my mother. As of November 2024, she will be on her own financially. There's also an investigation into her regarding what she tried to do to my daughters, and a very old investigation has been reopened about a family matter I can't really speak on for the time being. Because of the charges against my mother, we might get an expedited restraining order since minors are involved, fingers crossed. The restraining order will also keep some others from contacting me, mainly in-laws. In other news, after talking to my daughters, the three of us agree that we don't really like our house anymore. It makes me a bit sad because it was my childhood home and a gift from my dad, but the reality is there's too much baggage. I look at some places, and it feels like the ghost of my husband's infidelity is everywhere. My girls don't like that we're so close to their grandparents, and my brother, who's moved in with us, has been very blunt about the fact that the house is just not worth the stress. So, as painful as it is, I'm planning to do some repairs and either sell or rent it out. My brother will also continue living with us after we move. Not sure if it's a forever situation, but he's a good support for my eldest daughter when it comes to LGBTQ+ matters. I have to admit I know the bare facts, while my brother is gay and came out almost 30 years ago. He's been a fount of advice about resources and has given her guidance, especially after my mother's stunt. My youngest has also started to do better. She's back to talking as usual and seems less scared about going out. She's been very excited about looking for a new house with me. She wants the perfect yard. So, we'll see what we can find. My job offered a transfer out of state, also an international transfer, but that one is more likely a no for me. So, a new beginning will do us good. That's all I've got. Not so much actual updates as settling my mind on some decisions after reading advice here and talking it through with people in my life. As of November, I'm officially refusing to acknowledge my mother. As far as I'm concerned, my parents were gone after my father died. 10th update 5 months later. My 46F daughters, 17 and 15, have a strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents, 78M and 80F. My ex passed away in an accident last year, and we've had some major family drama since, due to his cheating and him leaving 2 boys, born from his affair partner, orphaned. She also died. Part of the drama has been my ex-in-laws trying to get custody of my daughters and also trying to live with us. We're going to court over the first one, and the second will never happen. Where we live, there's a weekend market with fresh produce, eggs, meats, and other products straight from farmers. This week was extra special since it was my youngest's birthday. Since her party is later in the month, I decided to give her a budget and set her loose at the market to get whatever she wanted, mostly chocolate and sweets. After an hour, I started getting worried, and just before I called her, she called me. She was crying, saying some weird people had cornered her. I ran to her with my oldest daughter to find 6 older women berating my daughter for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her paternal grandparents, or for not wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers. My daughters are the ones who found out about my ex's cheating and the babies, so they aren't fond of the kids. It's trauma, and they are working with a therapist. I got between the group and my daughter, told my eldest to go pay for the stuff her sister had, and to go to the car. Then I turned to the women, some of whom I knew from when we went to my ex-in-law's church, and ripped them a new one. They told me I was worse for refusing to obey my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. Eventually, the screaming got too loud, and we were all asked to leave the market. I met with my girls in the car, the women following me like a group of vultures. I managed to get in the car and drove away. After my girls went to bed, I got online to talk to another member of that church whom I'm on good terms with. I told him about what happened, and after he apologized, he told me what was going on. My ex-mother-in-law posted a massive story in the church's Facebook group about how horrible my daughters and I are, how we are leaving them homeless and penniless, they inherited my ex's personal bank account and his life insurance, and how my daughters don't even talk to them. She also accused us of being the reason she lost her grandsons. The boys are now living with distant relatives of my ex-husband. Basically, it was a sob story worthy of a Hallmark movie. And, of course, they were getting all the love and support from the more extremist members of their church. This church and its members are a bit annoying, especially with LGBTQ+ topics, but they have a small saving grace: they are incredibly strict about cheating. It's a big no-no, be it from a husband or a wife, equally. Now, how did she get around blaming me for the affair children without exposing the cheating? She claimed the other woman was our surrogate since I was unable to have more children. Then she said I didn't want the babies because they were boys, which is absolutely disgusting to be accused of. Well, I decided it was time to clean up this mess, and since I was mid-divorce when my ex died, I had all the evidence needed. And since the divorce wasn't completed, I don't have any legal ramifications for releasing all the evidence. I was off the next day and went to a print shop to get copies of all the delightful pictures of my ex cheating, His text conversations with his affair partner, the ones with his parents confessing to his cheating and giving him support, my ex-in-laws harassing me about the divorce, and my coup de grace, all the emails and text messages of them bullying my daughters about their baby brothers. In one of them, they call my daughters bastards and tell them it was their fault their father died, since they told me about the affair and I began the divorce. This one was literally 2 days after my ex died. I paid extra for all of this to be printed on beautiful, high-quality paper. Then, when I got home, I sat down for hours to make delightfully personalized binders. They looked like the little prayer song packets the church gives for everyone to take to sing hymns. The first picture when opening the binders is my ex and his side woman making out in our living room. Their faces are easy to discern, and the girl looks nothing like me, different skin tone and hair color. Underneath, I wrote, ex-husband's name and affair girl's name love story. I took them to the church before service. There's a desk in the back with the songbooks for people who need or forget their own, and they never check them. The gossip mill was quick and harsh. The names my ex and his affair partner got called on Facebook were so bad, the pastor himself had to get involved just to keep things relatively PG-13. People were angry at my ex-in-laws for their abuse toward my daughters, but what made me laugh was that I was still in the wrong for the divorce, but it is understandable that I failed in my duties after the shock and I possibly will one day return to the light, unlike my cheating husband and his Jezebel. They used another word I can't use here, I imagine. I got 2 apology letters in the mail for my girls and an invitation to join the church for support. As for my ex-in-laws, they got shamed into leaving the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a post on her wall about how alienated she feels and how no one cares for the elderly anymore. How she wished her great son was still alive since he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money, I don't know, since I was the breadwinner. Explanation on the will. My ex-husband had a will that named his parents as beneficiaries. As far as I was aware, he had told me he had named our daughters, not them. I never pushed for me to be the beneficiary, as my own will has my daughters as the beneficiaries, not him.
Story 5.
My future sister-in-law has an age complex and is furious that I'm older than her. Now she wants me to confess my sins at the wedding in order to take part and make me submit to her. Posted by you/ornery bookkeeper 8115. I, 31F, have 3 siblings, 40M, 38F, 27M, and we have a good relationship despite the age gaps between some of us. My older siblings are both married, and so am I. The wedding in question is my younger brother's. My younger brother, Luke, is engaged to his girlfriend of a year, Emma, 28F. She is nice, I guess, but we've never really clicked and are just polite to each other. Something important is that we are all Catholic, but not really hardcore ones, and some of us are even lapsed. I believe this whole situation started when I met her for the first time. I look younger than Luke, and it has always been a sibling joke that I am truly the baby of the family. Most people who meet us assume he is older than me, but nobody has had issues with it until Emma. The day I met her, she kind of scoffed when I said I was happy the baby had a proper girlfriend. She has this weird thing about being the eldest in her family and refused to believe I was older than her until I showed her my ID. She has been hot and cold with me since then, often infantilizing me or trying to have a sort of boss attitude. I just let her be and usually ignore her since I have no time to try and beg for her friendship, so I am just polite and civil, always include her when planning stuff but don't really make an effort. The family knows about it, but we just chalked it up to different personalities. Then the wedding planning started. Emma decided I could not be in the wedding party since I was not married in a church, whatever, fine by me. Then she requested that immediate family submit their dress plans so she could check if they fit the wedding dress code, fine, whatever. You see where this is going, I hope. You'll see I have not gone to confession or had communion in more than a decade. If I go to Mass for whatever reason, I am respectful and simply sit or stay standing during the rites I don't participate in. Well, this is not good enough for her, and she says I need to take communion during their wedding. I said no, and she has not taken it well. For the most part, I avoid her, as I said before, but this time I wasn't going to say yes or risk an issue. I told her that to take communion, one needs to go to confession, and I didn't want to. She said all immediate family is doing it and it will look bad if I don't. I told her, sure, fine, then I'll just go have communion in front of everybody but won't do confession. She said if this was going to be my attitude, I was uninvited from the wedding because I clearly wanted to ruin the day for her. I turned to my brother, told him thanks, gave him a thumbs up, and went home. My family understands my reasoning and said they respect everybody's choices, but I shouldn't have said what I said. I told them I really don't want to go to the wedding anymore and I don't owe Emma explanations about my life. I only called my grandma because she heard what happened and asked me not to disrespect the church by taking communion without confession. I promised I wouldn't do it, and she is fine with me now. I got a text from my brother wanting to compromise, so I replied by asking if the other lapsed people are being made to take confession too. He said no, because it was only nuclear family members. I find it funny since all the others are clearly older than her, and she just behaves like this with me and the younger ones. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Not the jerk, however, demand an apology from her, or else you still won't go. I am an atheist, but I have been requested to attend various religious ceremonies. I generally just stand silently in the back and have an inner monologue about how dumb this stuff is. This Delulu wanted to make your own decision her responsibility, and she can go screw off. Tell your brother you want an apology, or you won't go, and you want it to be sincere, none of that garbage barely say sorry and walk away crap. Ops response. I already told my parents I'm not coming, no matter what. They are clearly not pleased with how she spoke to me, but even more displeased with my brother. However, we agreed not to intervene further. If he wants to marry her, it's his decision, he's an adult and needs no permission. But what he would lose has been made clear to him. Update 1 day later. Things have moved, but I wouldn't call any of this positive progress. I'd like to clear up something I keep seeing in the comments. I won't request a special blessing or go in the queue for communion. It isn't about the blessing or the compromise, but about being singled out. I often just stay quiet or take a general family blessing if we go to weddings, etc. I have no issue with compromises, I have an issue with Emma and her ridiculousness. I don't know why she has this thing with me. I do look young, but not like a teen or a child, obviously. She has 2 younger sisters and is very authoritative with them. I've witnessed her being very my way or the highway with younger people, so she has issues for sure. The confrontation from the last post was on Tuesday, and today we had lunch at my grandma's. I think you should also know that my brothers have a tricky relationship, in that they are not as close with each other as they are with other siblings. My older brother, Robert, is very no-nonsense, and he has never been a fan of Emma, but he didn't think he should have to intervene because Luke is an adult and capable of navigating relationships. All this is going to be relevant, I promise. We visit Grandma a lot since she lives by herself, and we truly enjoy her company. Today, we were all there because she is over this drama already. After a lunch, that was more like snacking, to be honest, she asked us all to clear the air. Emma continued with her rant about me being a disrespectful person and said she was asking the bare minimum from me. My grandma asked her why she had no issue with her not taking communion, and Emma said it was because she was her elder and, for sure, her reasons were more than a tantrum, unlike in my case. She also repeated that she was asking this of all the siblings and that I was the only one being difficult with her tiny request. This is where everything crumbled for her. I mentioned in the comments that Robert is also lapsed, and he was already exhausted by this situation. He asked her why she had no issue with him not taking communion, and she looked like a kid who got caught. She didn't have a proper answer. Robert then asked her if she even knew why he and Grandma became lapsed. She shook her head and looked at Luke for help. Luke, on the other hand, was staring angrily at Robert and me but said nothing. Robert explained to Emma that he was the reason Grandma became lapsed. When Robert was a teen, he came out as gay and was so worried about our grandparents' reaction, since they were very active in the Catholic Church. Grandma felt awful about it, and even worse when she went and spoke about this with the then priest of her church. That priest was super old school and told her that Robert was committing sins, he was going to hell, he needed to find his way, the whole 9 yards. Grandma didn't take that well and simply stopped going to church, choosing instead to spend that time with her grandchildren. Over the years, she started getting involved in the community again, but she decided she was done taking the sacraments. She respects parts of the church but can't fully reconcile with it. Emma was a bit confused since Robert is married to a woman, and he explained he is bisexual and ended up with a woman just as he could have ended up with a man. He also commented that they are not married in the church, but that didn't matter to her like it did when it came to me. He asked her directly what her problem with me was. Long story short, she said I was rude from the beginning and kept treating Luke poorly. Oh, but I was also very snarky about looking younger than her. Insert awkward silence. She is a beautiful, successful woman, so I still don't understand her obsession, but it seems like she wants people to see that I respect her and what she says. I just started laughing. She started crying and said I turned my grandma against her. My grandma told her to stop blaming people for her being a negative person and said she was always going to side with me over her. Luke got upset at that and asked why she wasn't supporting him, and she simply said she doesn't support him being a lapdog for a crazy woman. More was said, nothing got truly resolved. I was kind of invited again, but declined. Grandma is undecided if she even wants to go at all. My older siblings told Luke they'll go to the ceremony if he seeks couples therapy, or at least therapy. My parents are having headaches and now dislike Emma so much they can't hide it. Oh, and yes, Grandma spoke with a priest, and he wants them to do extra premarital counseling or he won't officiate. I hope they don't get married, but he's old enough to derail his life if he wants. Thank you for letting me vent. Second update 2 days later. My brother has gone too far, and I've decided to be done with him. He made our grandma cry, and I think he's permanently damaged a lot of his relationships. I want to mention that some of my cousins and other family members thought I was just being stubborn and creating drama, but now there's no longer my side or Emma's side. Maybe he's always felt this way, but the issue he has with Robert is absolutely ridiculous. He was so upset with what Grandma said about him being Emma's lapdog that he called her to talk about it. I obviously wasn't present for the conversation, but Grandma told me what happened, and Luke confirmed it. He told her that it was unfair of me to ask Robert for help since Robert was her favorite grandchild and would get her to side with me no matter how wrong I was. He also told her that many of the cousins believed this and that it was so obvious since she even left her religion for him. He claimed the other LGBTQ+ members of the family, most of whom weren't even born when Robert came out, by the way, doubted whether she would do the same for them. So Grandma explained everything to Luke and then called every single one of her grandchildren to ask how they felt and to share parts we didn't know. She said that when Robert came out and she spoke with the old priest, he hinted at knowing places to set Robert straight. Grandma had heard horror stories about these places, and so had Robert. They both spoke with my parents together about that not being an option at all. My parents never intended to send Robert there and are very casual Catholics, but Grandma wanted to cover all bases just in case. I was told Grandma sounded like she had been crying on the phone, and after the first couple of calls, which went from oldest to youngest, the group chat started to blow up. Robert is livid, our LGBTQ+ cousins are livid and say Luke lied, and even the cousins who were telling me to stop being so stubborn are livid. By the time it was my turn for a call, I was already on my way to Grandma's. 2 of my cousins were already there, and the youngest one, Sarah, 16F, was ready to literally fight Luke. For a bit of levity, Sarah is about 35 centimeters shorter than Luke, and the image of her swinging at him made me laugh a bit. She asked if I was making fun of her, and I just explained the whole mental image of her trying to hit him. She admitted it was kind of funny. What I didn't tell her is that I would love to slap some sense into Luke. My grandma has been through so much in her life, and this is not what we want for her. She looked puffy-faced and kept asking everyone if they truly felt unloved by her, saying she would do everything for any of us. She explained how Robert was the oldest grandchild, but that didn't mean she loved the rest any less. She's a strong woman, but I think something inside her broke a little at the thought of hurting her grandchildren. It was a crap show, a big one, and I was just so done with Luke. My parents have been passive toward the situation so far because I asked them to, but after they heard what happened, they told him they need time away from him. Robert is simply disgusted and decided not to speak with him anymore, which he communicated through the cousin group chat. Luke's response was that this is why Emma's help in reining us all in would be so beneficial if we'd just let her. He also added that Robert never cared for him or anyone really and just tried to be the center of attention all the time. He cited Robert's coming out, his announcement that he was going to marry a woman, and the birth of his child. It was ridiculous. He came out when Luke was a toddler, and for many years only our parents and grandparents knew. He announced he was going to marry his now wife through a text and didn't interfere or take attention from anyone. His child was born 4 months before Luke's graduation, and apparently that was a big issue for Luke that he never commented on. Maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm selfish like Emma claims, but I call bullcrap on his tantrum. Every single one of the cousins has been helped, babysat, tutored, gotten out of trouble, you name it, by Robert. He isn't perfect, but he isn't the conniving jerk Luke is claiming. Maybe Luke has always felt inadequate and we didn't notice, maybe it was his last-ditch effort, maybe Emma has manipulated him so far that he can't come back. It doesn't matter anymore. If he does marry Emma, I wish him the best. If he doesn't, I hope he goes to therapy. Regardless of what he decides, he's burned so many bridges and hurt so many people, I don't see this resolving anytime soon. For now, I'll focus on my grandma and making her feel better. I feel extremely guilty because it was Emma's situation with me that opened this can of worms. I know I shouldn't, but it's hard not to. /relevant comments. Commenter. Wow, it sounds like it's self-projection from Luke. He's the conniving jerk he's saying Robert is. Ops response. Robert is the type of older cousin Sarah would call if she were drunk at a party and needed a safe ride. He also did it for Luke, which is why I don't get his deal. Commenter 2. Your little brother and his fiancée sound insane, as he thinks y'all are obligated to let some unhinged random woman rein you all in just because he likes screwing her? With his tactics involving your grandma, I think you need to stop saying this is all on Emma. Look back at her having an issue with you because of how you mistreat Luke, which, from your account, doesn't seem to happen. It sounds like your brother has created a narrative of the situation that is likely not recognizable as truth by anyone else. Maybe he resents being the youngest and no one listening to him, and he figures he can get his way by acting like a victim, who knows? In any case, being related doesn't necessarily mean people have to be part of your life. To me, this would open a window into your brother being a problematic AF person. Ops response. You hit a point I've been trying to avoid. Maybe he's been like this all along and Emma is just putting a magnifier on it. I must say, he was the center of attention when it was about him: graduations, birthdays, presentations, engagement party. He was celebrated for his achievements just as loudly as everybody else. Grandma always tried to be there, and so did our parents. He was always invited to things, always asked for his opinion on group decisions. He has always been loved. Commenter 3. Irrational behavior is called that because it can't be rationalized. Luke is exhibiting very irrational behavior, which is why you'll never understand it. The best you can hope for is that he gets some serious therapy and pulls his head out of his rear sooner rather than later. Ops response. If he asked for help and apologized sincerely, I would be there in 2 seconds. He knew what he was doing when he spoke with our grandma. He knew it would cause her pain, and he knew he would hurt Robert too. Robert might not be crying, but he feels bad about the situation. He has always looked out for everybody and even has pictures of him holding every single one of us as babies all over one of his walls. I always knew they were not the closest of brothers, but this is too much. Third update 1 week later. I want to start this by saying that Grandma is in better spirits now. I am overwhelmed by the number of people supporting her and very grateful for it, even if it's online. I have talked about this in some chats and DMs, but please know the situation with Emma is not about her being parentified or her family being strict Catholics, it's just her being her. They were already going to get premarital counseling, an extra session was added. Oh, all the cousins also don't live in the same city or town, some are a bit farther than others, but we keep in touch through the chat. The reason for the update is mainly to let people know Grandma is okay, her health is fine, and she had a blast with my cousin Sarah. I also want to update on what has happened with the cousins and the maternal side of our family. Some of our paternal cousins, from Grandma's side, have relented and feel a bit bad about excluding Luke from things, so a compromise was met. He can be invited to everything, just don't force people to interact. These cousins are mainly on the older side and have soft spots for the youngsters. My youngest cousin, Sarah, said she was okay with it all but wanted them to keep him away from her since she can't stand him anymore. Our maternal side was a crap show, because of course we need one. Some of them were very upset, but others told me I should try to understand where he was coming from. My mom was the one who told them everything, and some told her she is at fault for making Robert the star of the family. This was so uncalled for, but it brought up some issues in my family, particularly when one of my maternal cousins asked me if I could behave well enough if I were seated at the same table as Luke at his wedding. It makes us doubt ourselves, but really, this is a cousin that Robert has bailed out from almost bankruptcy twice, and he's the problem? I haven't said much about my sister Lucy since she hadn't voiced anything different before. She was always very close to Luke and even had a great relationship with Emma before the debacle. She decided to stay out of it because she was so disappointed. While she was never made to babysit or anything like that, she was always so into Luke since he was her baby brother. She loved him the most, and I know that because she literally told me when I was a kid. We have a good relationship now because her kids are my buddies, but it was rough for a while before that. She was upset about the whole thing, but when our maternal family, or at least part of it, started excusing Luke, she lost it. She is a very calm person, the type you don't expect a bad word out of, but she lost it, and I think it was the last straw in the cold bucket for Luke. She sent a massive message about what has been happening, detailing every single thing, and daring people to kind of come at her if they disagreed. She made sure to include every single nasty thing, every bad word, every eye roll. She sent it to so many people because she was tired of the half-information telephone game. She is upset at me because my refusals made this happen, and she said she knows she shouldn't, but she needs time to fix her feelings, so she is not speaking with me right now. My parents decided they were out of the wedding and told Luke he is on his own. There was never a monetary issue, they were willing to contribute, but both Luke and Emma are pretty well off, and there was no need for that. Now to what maybe most people want to know and the only conflict I'm interested in anymore: my grandma is feeling better. Sarah being with her was very positive. It was lovely to see the eldest and youngest of our family so in tune, but then again, they always have been. She requested that Sarah invite Luke to her birthday party, December, and after a lot of back and forth, he is going to be invited. We'll see if he comes or not. I mentioned before that Robert would pick up Sarah if she needed, that's still true. What I might not have mentioned is that she, of course, gets a weird lecture from him and an even weirder lecture on how he rates certain drugs, lol. As I said, he is no saint, but he is not a prick either. Lastly, yes, he has photos, even with my sister or me, on the newborn wall. People love taking pics of him holding the new family members, and he collected them and put them together when he got his own house. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. How did we go from I won't do confession to everyone blaming Robert for the end of your brotherly relationship, while simultaneously all of them also blaming you for everything? Ops response. Have you met Catholic families? Jokes aside, I think it's easier to blame Robert and me than Luke since we are not going to go on a rampage that would hurt people. Commenter 2. Sitting here, waiting for when the cousin will need to be bailed out a third time. Ops response. You could join my husband, he is just laughing about this particular cousin's position. Commenter 2. I rationally know it is because insecure and entitled people both have an issue with gratitude, and possibly the first person they would stab is the one who helped them, especially in a family or a social circle, where the one who always helps is also the he does it and all of you don't. Rationally, the truth is, this happens to a relative of mine too, and more than once I had to call people off, and I still can't believe it. Ops response. It's deeper than that. The first time it happened, Robert organized a fund so people could help out and get it done faster. The second time, he even sold a couple of things to reach the goal more quickly. This cousin has a house because of Robert, and Robert does these kinds of things because he doesn't want anybody to feel powerless. Robert made it clear he will not help him anymore, and now my cousin is spiraling. Fourth update 1 month later. As I mentioned in my last update, some of the older cousins were feeling bad about excluding Luke, and a compromise was reached. But as good, or as much as we want to be good, as we are, we're no saints, so we decided to test the waters before the birthday to be safe. We had a lunch party with a lot of the family in attendance and tried our best, or at least some of us did. During the trial lunch, Emma was trying to get Sarah to speak with her. As I mentioned before, Sarah was looking into following in Luke and Emma's footsteps, but now she doesn't even want to be in the same room as them. Emma has not taken this well and tried to engage Sarah several times before the lunch, but Sarah was not budging, so at one point, Emma lost it. She grabbed her by the arm and sternly told her she needs to stop being disrespectful, and, well, Sarah lost it. She started screaming at Emma not to touch her, in way more colorful language, and everybody lost their crap. Fortunately, Luke was close by and separated Emma and Sarah. How this adult thought it was a good idea to grab a teenager is beyond me, but then again, this is Emma we're talking about. Things calmed down a bit, and the rest of the day was uneventful, apart from Emma's stares. Emma was blocked by most people, and she was very hurt by it. How do I know this? Because Luke made a whole speech about it to my parents. She is now particularly focused on Sarah being rude to her and calling her a disrespectful child. She, of course, blames me for starting this and is sure I put ideas in everybody's heads. In total, I have met Luke and Emma about 3 times since my last update and kept my distance. Luke has been ignoring Robert, making a big show about doing it every time, like a child. My sister came around and started talking with me again, and not much has changed since we were never that close, and it's mainly to coordinate meetings between my nibblings and me. Now onto the important event that was Grandma's birthday. It was amazing. She had a blast with family and friends who wanted to celebrate her. She is very well liked, so there was a considerable number of people in attendance. She was like a giddy princess and didn't stop smiling the whole time. The only wrinkle was Emma and Luke giving out their wedding invitations. It was tacky, but nobody was surprised. Some of my maternal family members in attendance were a bit awkward about it, while some of my paternal family simply left the invitations on their tables. Emma gave them to my husband and Robert's wife, which made them laugh, and she was annoyed but didn't say anything. They also gave Grandma the envelope in front of some of her friends and asked her to please open it. Luke knows we never open anything until after the parties, but the insistence was such that she did, read what it was, said thank you, and went back to her conversation. I assume they were expecting her to be excited or share the news with her friends, but that was obviously not going to happen. Luke approached Sarah with hers and told her Emma has decided to make her a bridesmaid to repair their relationship. Sarah replied with woof woof, and Luke looked like he was about to cry. He used to be Sarah's idol, and she adored him, now she mocks him. He told our aunt and uncle she should be grounded for being so mean, and they said they agreed with it. Sarah received a 15-minute punishment of helping carry gifts to the car. The wedding date is March 27th. They will have the reception in a family backyard, still a pretty big space, enough for like 100, due to the considerable downsizing they had to do, since a lot of people are RSVPing no or simply not even acknowledging the invitation at all. They tried to pull a Hail Mary during the birthday, but it was a fiasco. Grandma has officially declined the invite, and we will plan something fun for that weekend. I guess this is it, the countdown to see if he actually marries her is on. And yes, I know it sounds mean, but we truly hope he doesn't. But we'll see. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Can you give an update about Emma's family? Do they know Emma is crazy? Ops response. Well, I can let you know what I know. She loves to be in charge, and her parents have always enabled her. She has younger sisters and thrives on being a respected person. It's a bit like an obsession for her. The few times I met her family, they seemed a bit snobbish but polite. They do know about everything that has been happening and contacted my parents after the birthday party because Emma was very hurt that people dismissed the invitations and felt our attitude toward Emma and Luke, particularly that of Grandma and Sarah, was out of line. I truly don't know what they expect. For my dad to ground her mother for not participating in the circus that is the wedding? Or force Sarah to be a bridesmaid to a woman she doesn't intend to talk to ever again? It seems like Emma's entitlement comes from her being treated like a princess who does no wrong, but that doesn't fly with my family. Fifth update 3 months 2 weeks later. I think we have reached a conclusion to the will they won't they on the wedding. The holidays were mostly pretty uneventful. My husband, father-in-law, and I spent Christmas with my grandma and some other relatives. We exchanged gifts and had a good time. Luke made an appearance and brought gifts for several people, not me, and had an argument with Sarah again because she refused to accept his gift. I mentioned it before, but she truly thought he was the best thing on the planet, so it was his way to try and bribe her love. Sadly for Luke, Sarah has all the spiciness and stubbornness of Grandma but not her tact yet. He met with my sister and my parents, but he was already pretty down from what they told me. Things after the holidays were mainly drama-free. There were some birthday parties they attended, but most people kept them at a distance. Last time I mentioned the wedding date was March 27th. Clearly, that's no longer the case, and it's due to 3 main things: Luke's friends, the guests ignoring them, and them trying to save face. Most of Luke's friends have never been very big fans of Emma, but it turns out they didn't know the full story about the issues in the family, which, to be honest, makes sense. But when it came to planning the bachelor party and luncheon, they realized most of the family was not even going. One of his oldest friends contacted my parents to ask what was going on because Luke seemed pretty upset when asked and said Robert made it happen. When they heard all the ridiculousness, including Emma grabbing Sarah, half of them told him they loved him but couldn't support this wedding. Luke lost it and said it was not his fault, and even got into an argument with my parents. My dad admitted he told his friends the truth in hopes Luke would call off the wedding. They haven't spoken since. Then I heard through the grapevine, aka my sister, about the lack of response to the invites and how they could not calculate anything properly. Emma was losing it because empty seats were worse than having to explain why half of Luke's family was not in attendance. They decided to elope. The official explanation is they just couldn't wait to be married. So it turns out they did end up getting married. It happened about a week ago, and the guests were mainly her family and a couple of friends. My sister said Luke was very upset about the lack of support, and I know it's hard, but he chose this. If you didn't know, you would think it was a very romantic day with all the photos they took and posted. The trip Sarah wanted to take with Grandma is still on for next week. It's just a day trip, but I am sure we're gonna have a blast. Things will remain frosty, and some relationships will never be the same, but at least this chapter is over. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Wait, so she got married outside the church, which is something she was dissing you for. Pot, meat kettle. Ops response. My grandma thinks she is a worse Catholic than all of us, and I agree. Commenter 2. Man, I'm disappointed he still ended up marrying her. You would think he would have pulled his head out of his rear by now and realized marrying her wasn't a good idea and that he's ruining the relationships he has with both friends and family. Now he's going to be trapped in this marriage. Commenter 3. I'm not sure if Emma truly isolated Luke from the family. While it sounds like she is the main villain, I honestly feel like Luke seeing himself as unloved or inferior to his siblings, especially Robert, is playing a bigger part than Op outright says. This may be completely subjective and just in Luke's head, but I can absolutely see him wallowing to Emma about it and escalating things further that way. Him saying stuff like how it would be good if Emma would rein his siblings in kind of indicates that, in my opinion, he enjoys having Emma as a partner because he feels loved when she is all bossy and putting the more loved siblings in their place. Commenter 4. Agreed. Luke isn't upset because Robert's the golden child, Robert isn't. Luke is upset because he wanted to be the golden child, the baby of the family, or at least the hero of the baby of the family, and instead the family is pretty even-handed in the way they treat each other. He likes the idea of Emma reigning over the family and reining his siblings in, because then he can be singled out and spoiled the way he thinks he deserves. In his mind, they would be the natural leaders of the family as the elder generations sink into insignificance, and Emma will do all the organizing of it while he doesn't have to do a jot of work.
Story 6.
I'm pregnant for the first time with my husband's baby, but his daughter from his first marriage is ruining my life, and I don't know what to do. Posted by you/secondbaby. I'm sure my husband doesn't even know that Reddit exists, but I'm sure we have friends who go on this sub, so I'm using a throwaway for this one. I feel like the worst person in the world for typing this out to begin with, but I need some reassurance or practical ways to handle this situation. For backstory, my husband, 36M, and I, 26F, are very much in love. We met over 5 years ago through work and got married last year. It was my first marriage and his second. We recently bought a house together and decided it was a good time to start a family. After months of trying, I am now pregnant with a beautiful, wrinkly fetus. I'm about 5 months along at the moment, and though I feel a bit more emotional and craving crazy than I used to be, I still feel rather healthy and good about myself. My husband was supportive and took very good care of me, until Ava, 7F, not her real name, came into our lives. Ava is from my husband's first marriage. He was married to a kind woman who, after only 4 years of marriage, grew bored of him and cheated on him with many men. When my husband found out, he went through her cell phone on a gut feeling. He was livid and devastated. She had been sending and receiving nudes for months. Despite this, he wanted to work things out, but she had already moved in with another man, taken Ava with her, and served him divorce papers along with a restraining order. She also sent Ava to therapists, trying to brainwash her into thinking my husband was a neglectful father. My husband took this sack of crap to court to fight for joint custody but ultimately lost. He can only see Ava a few times a year. Immediately after winning, said sack of crap took Ava and moved to a different city almost 3 hours away with her new man. Since her birth in 2007, my husband has only seen Ava about a dozen times for special occasions or weddings. He technically still has custody of her, but not primary, only on paper. I met my husband when I was 20 and he was 30. He was still in the middle of his divorce and was wrecked from having to pay alimony and child support while getting no closure on his marriage or access to his daughter. We became good friends and hung out often until, about a year into the friendship, we decided to move in together. I needed a roommate, and he needed one because he could no longer support himself living alone. We gradually fell for each other until we were in love, and after his finances were straightened out, he proposed to me. We got married last year, as I mentioned before. Which brings us to now. Long story short, Ava's mother broke it off with yet another man. Word of mouth is that she met someone online who lives in another state and wanted to move in with him. She left Ava with her parents, Ava's maternal grandparents, who live in our city. But her grandparents are old, too old and weak to raise her. They like having their granddaughter around, but they can't help her with homework, get her ready for school, or drive her anywhere. So, one day, Ava literally just showed up on our doorstep, and we've had to readjust our whole lives for her. I've never had so much hatred for a 7-year-old in my life. I feel like crap. Ava is the rudest little girl I've ever met. She has no manners or consideration for anyone. She talks back to her father and gives him attitude. She only smiles and acts loving when she wants something, like new toys or clothes. When she found out she was getting a younger sibling, I let her rub my belly, and instead, she smacked me. She smacked my belly at random times when I walk past her, which makes me livid and drives me to tears. I tell her it's unacceptable to hit anyone, especially her sibling, but she screams that I'm not her mom and that I can't tell her what to do. I told my husband about her behavior and how she acts when he's not around, deliberately making messes that I have to clean, drawing on my paintings and books with markers, refusing to eat my home-cooked meals but demanding pizza and ice cream. Instead of scolding and disciplining her, he placates her and gives her what she wants. His idea of scolding is, "Don't do that again, okay?" It's like he's gone from being a dependable family man to a spineless doormat of a father. I want to send her back to her sack of crap mother. Maybe she'd be better off in foster care, but at this point, I don't care anymore. Is there any way I can deal with this practically? I can't even think straight. I don't want to feel toxic when I'm about to become a mother. I've tried so hard to be a mother figure to this girl, but she treats me horribly. I always walk past her with my hands around my belly in case she strikes me again. If this is how she's going to be, I don't want her to affect my unborn baby. She's already having a profoundly negative effect on my husband. I hate her stupid trashy mother for ripping her away from my husband, denying him access, and then dumping her on her parents, only to abandon her once again when she found a new man. I know Ava is a product of her environment, she has to be, but I don't know what to do at this point. I've never worked with children with behavioral issues, and I never dreamed I'd be the wicked stepmother in the midst of being barefoot and pregnant. My question is, how the hell can I sort this family out without going absolutely mental? I feel like a prisoner in my own home. I didn't sign up for this kind of dysfunction. This is affecting my sanity, my marriage, and my family. Any input or solutions are welcome, please help. Relevant comments. Commenter. That little girl desperately needs therapy. I know she's awful, but she's been raised poorly and abandoned. She's furious. You guys can be the stable, loving home she needs to grow up normally. Listen, I'm a stepmom. Biomom is a total sack of crap. The kids were like wild animals when I came on the scene 2 years ago, tantruming, destroying things, not listening, serious emotional disturbances. With therapy, love, diligence, and total dedication, their dad, who had sole custody for 2 years until recently, and I have turned those kids into functional human beings. It's made me cry and want to give up at times, but I reminded myself that they needed me. They have a great dad, but he had no idea how to parent at first. He was just escaping from a physically and emotionally abusive woman and trying to keep them safe. He would have anxiety attacks when they threw tantrums. He would let them eat whatever they wanted and do whatever they wanted. I came in, made rules and bedtimes, and taught him that it's okay to be strict, that you must choose your battles but win every single one you choose. They went from eating pizza and mac and cheese every night to eating whatever healthy meal we put in front of them. They went from tantrums and freakouts to deep breathing and apologizing. It takes time, dedication, and a lot of patience, but you have to get him on the same page. You both have to be willing to wait her out until she breaks and realizes you're the boss, and you have to be firm and loving at all times. She needs to feel safe with you. She's a 7-year-old little girl, that's my stepson's age, and he still very much needs me to hold him when he's feeling insecure and anxious, make him feel safe, and know that Daddy and I are 2 people he can trust no matter what, to never, ever let him down. That little girl needs to know that you and your husband will never let her down, and her behavior will improve when she does. She's scared, angry, and abandoned, and nobody has ever taught her how to be a person. You can do that. Update 1 day later. Since I've started walking around with my hands casually on my belly when I'm around Ava, she hasn't been hitting me as much as she used to. This morning, over breakfast, in front of both my husband and me, Ava said, "I hope your baby dies." My husband had been asking her what she thought we should name the baby. We had been trying to include her in the pregnancy, and she responded with nothing. After my husband and I took turns encouraging her, saying, "Come on, you can think of a boy name and a girl name," she told me, "I hope your baby dies." I didn't say anything and let my husband discipline her. But as always, his idea of discipline was simply saying, "You're a big girl, you shouldn't say those things." I pulled him aside into the next room and asked that he be firmer with her, as she had been physically punching me in the belly, and now she was saying she hoped the baby would die. Edit. Thanks for all your responses. I've read through each one of them, and though I couldn't reply to your comments, I really appreciated the input. One poster mentioned that I might be jealous of Ava's existence because she's a reminder that I'm going through my first marriage and first pregnancy with someone who has done it all before. And you know what? I'll admit that does bother me a bit. Having Ava be as difficult and behavioral as she is isn't really helping my feelings, either. That said, not many commenters in my original post mentioned what to do about Ava hitting me on my 5-month pregnant belly. I can say, though, that I've never spoken badly about her bio mom in front of her. If I seem hostile toward Ava, it's probably because she acts so cruelly toward me no matter what I do for her, cooking for her, packing her lunches, picking her up from camp, and even resorts to hitting me. That, I cannot overlook. Sorry if that makes me immature or selfish, but I don't want to surround myself with that kind of negativity, even if it comes from a 7-year-old. I'm going to ask my husband, he's speaking to Ava right now, if I can go stay with my parents for a while, or if not, my sister. I want to finish the rest of my pregnancy in peace and without stress. The best thing for me right now is to protect the baby in my belly. Ava also acts out toward her father, so I'll suggest that this time can be used for them to bond. Temporarily removing myself from the situation might allow my husband some one-on-one time with Ava. Maybe by the time I return home with our new addition, she'll have cooled off a bit, and we can start therapy, as so many of you have suggested. Thanks for your input, Reddit. I appreciated every thought. Relevant comments. Commenter. Don't move out. Seriously, don't. It won't solve the problem and might escalate it when you get back instead. You have her now, whether you want to or not. If you come back with a baby, she won't have any connection to how it has grown, and all the work your husband has put in will be for nothing. It's even harder for a kid to accept a baby that just pops up out of nowhere than to follow the pregnancy and be part of it. If she hits you, contact a counselor and get outside help. Set boundaries, stop coddling her. You don't have to hit or yell at her, but you do have to show her that you won't accept that kind of behavior. Yes, her dad should be the main one raising her, but you're also an adult and part of the family. You have to do your share if things are going to work. You can't expect him to do it all, not if you want Ava to respect your space. Talk to your husband and come up with a game plan. What time is dinner? How are you going to handle her violence? How will you correct her? What do you expect from her? Bedtime, friends, school? Every little thing, make a plan. Take it from someone who used to be Ava: if you flee now and expect things to magically sort themselves out when you get back, you're fooling yourself, like a kid wishing Santa would fix her parents' marriage. Neither fleeing nor Santa will fix the problem. Commenter 2. It's easy for you to say not to move out. You aren't pregnant, getting abused, and living in a household where another member wants your child dead. She needs her sanity and space, and she's right to secure it. Work on Ava can start while she's out of the home. You, me, and any other Redditor cannot forecast what will become of Ava, even with intensive treatment or discipline and routines today. Don't make Op feel bad for securing a more stable environment. Op's response. Thank you so much. This is exactly how I'm feeling right now. Commenter 3. I think you're responding immaturely. A 7-year-old hitting your belly is not going to hurt the baby. It's protected by fat and muscle, and it's floating in water. However, if she hits it once it's born, it will hurt the baby. So why is your solution to move out now and move back in when the baby is born? It's illogical and overly dramatic. However, her behavior is atrocious and needs to be stopped. If you want things to get better, you must team up with your husband and seek professional help. If he doesn't want to do that, leave. If you don't want to do that, leave. If you'd rather call attention to all the ways this child is harming you than take action to help her, then do not be surprised when things do not improve. This is a traumatized and helpless human being you are dealing with. Quit running around hollering about how horrid she is and get her some damn therapy. Op's response. She is horrid. We will absolutely be getting her, and our family, therapy. I am not being immature. I'm not trying to be woe is me, but I think I deserve to spend the remainder of my pregnancy in peace and calm. I don't want my temper or my emotions to stress me out and, by extension, my unborn baby. Commenter 4. If Op moved out, I hope she never plans to move back in. This is the end of her relationship with Ava and her husband. I hope to God the husband steps up and starts parenting his child instead of abandoning both of them. Sadly, I think the latter is more likely. Of all the bad behavior I've seen on this board, Op takes the cake. This is appalling. Poor Ava, this little girl needs a mother so badly, and Op is so deluded about what it means to be a mother that she's abandoning Ava in the name of motherhood. I say this as a pregnant mother of one, soon to be 2. This garbage about protecting her second child but not her first breaks my heart. Op's response. I am protecting my second child from my first child. I never said I never plan to move back in, I will. I've been through 5 months of stomach punching, death threats, temper tantrums, and highly stressful situations. I only wish to finish my pregnancy in peace. Commenter 5. I usually lurk, so I didn't post on your last thread, which was completely out of hand. Moving out is the right decision. You are heavily pregnant, and people advising you to start an arduous journey, one that may be impossible, of changing Ava are wrong. You have a duty to protect yourself, and that duty goes above and beyond your duty to Ava or the marriage. It's a harsh truth, but with a kid on the way, it's truer than ever. The advice to stay is high on ideals but low on reality. Good for you for getting out. Really take some time to actually enjoy your pregnancy and your life again. Your husband needs a wake-up call, and this will do it. If he gets Ava help, great. If he doesn't, you're already out of the house, keep it that way. Update us months down the road. I apologize for everyone riding high on their morals. You have to manage your life, and I'm glad you chose to protect yourself first. Op's response. Thank you for your response. It means a lot. I know it sounds selfish, but I want to put myself and my unborn baby first. I will keep this in mind and provide a response. Second update 6 days later. This will be my final update. Since my last post, we have put Ava into therapy and begun attending marital counseling. Ava is going to therapy twice a week, and my husband and I are attending once a week. I'm glad we managed to get everything out during our very first session, as we now have the remaining sessions to work toward resolving our marriage as well. A lot of my anger has subsided since I moved out. I'm writing this from my parents' home, where I feel safe and relaxed. I've been taking some maternity yoga classes for my own peace, and I think I quite like it. My husband and I talk or text almost every day, and we plan for me to visit our family home once or twice a week to do family activities, as the therapist suggested. I know many of you suggested that I stay in the family home, but the peace I feel now with Peanut, our nickname for the little one, is something I wouldn't trade for anything. I finally feel like I can fully indulge in and experience my pregnancy. Ava and I did have one last violent fallout before I moved out. I put my hands on Ava when she came in for another swing. This was right after my husband had spoken to her about absolutely no hitting, so I quickly grabbed her wrist. There was no hitting or anything from me, I just grabbed her wrist to restrain her. I told her that I would not tolerate being hit, reminded her of the no-hitting rule, and asked her to stop. She retaliated by swinging her leg up to kick me in the stomach. My God, the willpower it took for me not to slap her across the face was burning, but I managed to walk away. I told her what big trouble she was in for hitting again and immediately brought her dad in, who gave her a stern lecture. This happened a day after her first child therapy session, so my husband and I were relieved that we had already gotten the ball rolling on therapy. He supports me 100% in my decision to move out until the end of my pregnancy. His main issue is that he has no idea what to do with Ava and is afraid she will hate him if he is too hard on her. Remember, he was basically cut out of her life for almost her entire childhood until her bio mom abandoned her. At this point, I told him I was unhappy that he seemed to be bending over backward for Ava while neglecting Peanut. I raised the issue of firm discipline and setting clear rules, and the counselor will help us establish fair house rules. Some of them include no hitting and no name-calling. Eat whatever is put on your plate, dessert will only be served after your meal is finished. Help out with small household chores in exchange for a small allowance. My husband and I both agreed that we would treat Ava fairly and discipline her consistently, and that the same rules for Ava would also apply to our own child. While we know we won't enforce the same rules on a toddler, we feel this is a good foundation to show Ava that household rules exist and that life requires order and discipline, things she's probably not used to. But we're starting that now. We haven't heard from Rent-A-Womb for weeks, not even a single phone call to check on how Ava is handling the transition. We've agreed that she is no longer welcome to intrude in our lives. We will take steps to claim full custody now that she has proven herself to be utterly incompetent. So here I am, resting with my Peanut, surrounded by my parents and sister, full of positive vibes. My husband and I are in marriage counseling, and Ava is in therapy. We plan to take some parenting courses at the local community center, and we will be bringing Ava with us. Maybe being around other kids expecting siblings will help, and some of their enthusiasm will rub off on her. We'll be encouraging her to make friends. Perhaps some playdates are in order? Edit. I've read all the PMs and responses, and I'll do my best to read and reply to each one. A few recurring themes keep coming up, so I'm going to try to clarify my stance. I originally came to this board seeking advice on how to handle the Ava situation. Many commenters suggested therapy and working together with my husband. This allowed me to reflect on my thoughts and process my emotions. This update is for those who requested one and for those who wanted to see how our family ultimately handled the situation. I received the help and advice I needed and chose the path that resonated most with me. I'm moving out until the end of my pregnancy, with my husband's support and blessing. Call me selfish if you want, but as I said in my last post, I'm not sorry for my decision. I don't care whether I'm letting Ava win. We've set ground rules and arranged therapy for her, and now it's time to take care of myself. You don't win anything against a 7-year-old child. If you've ever had a 7-year-old violently punching and kicking your pregnant belly, then you can come talk to me. I don't care if women in some countries have to squat in a minefield to give birth to premature triplets, that's not my reality, and I choose to have a stress-free pregnancy. I know I've had thoughts like I want to slap the crap out of Ava, but I will never lay a hand on her. Yes, I was physically disciplined as a child, punitively and within reason, but I will never hit or beat her. Rent-A-Womb seems like a fitting term for a woman who gave birth and then dragged that child around on a wagon tour to sleep with multiple men, while keeping her away from her biological father and abandoning her when it became inconvenient. I've used Rent-A-Womb since I first met and learned about this woman. She deserves no title of parent or mother. We call uninvolved dads sperm donors, so why not use the female equivalent? It seems appropriate. Many of you have PM'd me, thanking me for my decision to move out. You also grew up in blended families where you were abused by step-siblings while your biological parent was too afraid to discipline them, overlooking the abuse in hopes that it was just a phase. I knew others had experienced similar situations, and I appreciate you reaching out. Thank you for the encouragement. Remember, blended families have very different dynamics from traditional families, and there's no single right way to navigate them. Best of luck to everyone in similar situations. Relevant comments. Commenter. I had almost the exact same situation. My stepson was dropped off by his egg donor when he was 6, and I was 5 months pregnant with my first child with my husband. The egg donor was a casual girlfriend mistake. The child had, and still has, serious emotional problems. Physically and emotionally, he's far behind his peers. He was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder due to the care he received from pregnancy and birth into early childhood. My stepson is now 10 and still has severe problems. The egg donor became heavily re-involved in his life after we filed for and were granted custody, and she was ordered to pay child support. She has used all kinds of alienation tactics on him. All that aside, if he's left alone with my 3-year-old for even a few minutes, she often gets accidentally hurt. She's old enough to tell me what actually happened, but I strongly caution you to protect your baby. Never leave Ava alone in a room with the baby. I'd enact to no one under 16 holds the baby rule for safety purposes. That way, it's not a personal issue with his daughter, it's a blanket rule to keep your baby in more mature arms. Children who have been maltreated, like your stepkid, are unpredictable and emotionally unstable. Your husband is going to have a tendency to parent from a place of guilt and possibly inappropriate leniency with her. Make sure you're on the same page and consistent, or your family simply will not function. I wish you all the best, and I hope counseling helps. Commenter 2. I have sent up a private message about a lot of this, but there is something I need to say to everyone in this thread. You are not experts. It is unlikely that you have much experience with child psychology, so stop pretending you know everything about what is going on here. Ava's moral reasoning is ruled by punishment versus reward. Punishment is very important, but reward is even more crucial. Many studies demonstrate that rewarding good behavior is essential in changing a child's general behavioral outlook. A very strict punishment/reward system needs to be used in this case, and every little thing, from her words to the smallest behaviors, needs to be punished or rewarded accordingly. Charts, displayed rules, and clear expectations are key to the recovery and continued development of this child. Just hitting her back isn't going to solve anything here and could risk making the problem worse. Also, can everyone please back the F off with the hate? At the end of the day, Ava is a child. She did not choose this life. She did not choose to be born to a woman who did not love her. She did not choose to grow up without love or boundaries. This behavior is the result of abuse, and Reddit needs to stop acting like hitting the kid back will solve everything. She is emotionally damaged, and her moral and ethical development is stunted, and none of that is her effing fault. P.S. Well done, Op, for removing yourself from the house. Letting her win is not worth having a stillbirth or preemie due to stress. People who think you should have stayed clearly have no idea what stress does to pregnant women.